Hey, what's up, Metavision? What's going on, guys? We're about to jump into the full documents. I think there's actually things in here that haven't been seen yet by a lot of people. So I'll be going over that. And I'll actually, I barely skimmed through this, but I will be. What's up, Random Arts? I will be basically reacting to this for the first time with you guys as we read through the document. Um, so, yeah. So we're just going to actually just jump right into it. Alrighty. All right. So we're just going to jump right into it. I'll just be reading through it, getting your guys' opinions, how you guys feel about it, and giving my own if we discover anything new. If you guys do me a favor and hit the like button, I appreciate that. So the defendant is Emanation Communications Group, LC, ECG, hereby furthered response to plaintiff's complaint. ECF document number 1. ECG submits this amended answer, counterclaims, and third-party claims as permitted by Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 15. ECG further responds as follows. So this seems like this is his mom's company's response to, I guess, the lawsuit that John has against them. What you got for us today? I have zero trust in Safemoon. Sadly, even if a product is finally done, who's going to use it? Trust in crypto is 99% of everything. I actually don't know what I have for you. We'll be finding out together. But I do think that there's some details in here that are interesting, to say the least. Parties. ECG lacks knowledge or information sufficient to form a belief about the truth of the allegations, therefore denies. So a lot of this is going to be like their position, and then it's going to go into the details. So it might be a little boring at the beginning. ECG lacks knowledge or information sufficient to form a belief about the truth of the allegations, thereof denies. Jurisdictional basis, denies. Complete diversity, denies. General allegations, admits all. This is where it's like interesting, because I guess I don't have the one part that shows the different parts of the allegations. But they're basically admitting to certain parts of the allegations while denying the other parts. Denies complete diversity, admits amount in controversy exceeds 75,000. Denies. Admits all allegations except 5. Denies that Section 5.4 states that third parties contracting with ECGs such as plaintiff are entitled to fully rely upon the representations of Ms. Caroni, as the manager of ECG admits that Section 5.4 contains the quoted words. Denies as to May timeframe as to urgent needs to Africa. Admits all the other allocations. Admits that in response to its needs for financing to fund the operation of its research and development of nanotechnology, the parties prepared loan documents. Denies all other allegations, which is like, that was like a big thing, right? Because the idea of what Project Phoenix was for Safemoon was freedom of the unbanked in the Gambia, and that like through the internet, I think it's like through the internet, through these wind turbines, that you were able to create, have them connect in a way that creates a mesh network by which they are able to create internet for the Gambians, right? And that we would be able to mint those wind turbines, according to John, and that that technology, like I don't quite fully understand all this, but it seems like a lot of what John was portraying was actually ECG and what they were working on. So, but one of the things that came out in that video was the nanotechnology, which is supposed to help the wind turbines be more aerodynamic and go for longer so that they're more energy efficient, or something along those lines, right? Let me clear my throat and take a drink real fast. I have a strong feeling once products drop, the price will go up again. I hope so. 8 Reasons. What an absolute circus. It's crazy, There's certain things that I can't talk about. Not like bombshells, but pretty interesting things that I can't talk about yet. Admits that so they prepared, it seems like they prepared like a loan document where John invested a certain percentage into this ECG company. And then at a certain point, it seems like John's mom felt like his investment in the company was too risky because of the lawsuits that were tied to Safemoon. And I think that a lot of that, I could be wrong, happened around CoffeeZilla and when the lawsuits really started to take off. That it could have been that they felt that if there was a connection to Safemoon, that they themselves could be sued and lose the funding for the technology they work. That's just my theories, right? But we'll see if we can find more information. Admits the loan to ECG was to be at least a 6-month bridge load, with ECG agreeing to repay the principal loan with interest and with one $10,000 loan fee. Denies all other allegations. It admits that LexVest agreed to lend ECG up to $1 million with interest accruing at 18%. Denies all other allegations. So I guess they're admitting parts that are true and then denying the parts that are attached to the accusations or allegations. Here's my thing, guys, is I'm open, and like, even if you don't like somebody, you have to give them the same standard that you would give somebody you do like. And I think this is the problem in the space, is people don't even necessarily like John Crony, but they want so badly Safemoon to moon because they've invested too much or they believed in a dream or whatever it is, that they start to change their standard, right? And I don't want to let my bias towards John Crony, because I don't trust him, therefore assume that he's wrong in every scenario that I see. That's the truth will come out regardless of what I want it to be, right? And I'm less likely to find it if I'm wanting it to be something. So I'm open to giving John the benefit of the doubt in these scenarios. I do lean towards, obviously, that if your entire family's against you and you're suing your own mom, that, unless you just were born into the worst family possible, that it looks bad for John. That's all I'm saying. Admits that an original document entitled Loan Agreement sought to identify events to default. Denies all other allegations. Admits that parties attempted to identify collateral for the loan. Admits that a document entitled Intellectual Property Security Agreement contains the words recited with some variations. ECG lacks knowledge or information sufficient to form a belief about the truth of the allegations, therefore denies. Admits that the original document entitled Loan Agreement contains such words with some variations. Admits that the original document entitled Loan Agreement contained. Okay, so that's the same thing. And there's a lot on here that they have to deny and admit to. Lacks knowledge or information sufficient to form a belief. Okay, so they're saying we don't have enough knowledge about this subject to confirm or deny it. Crypto Control and others are being paid to FUD. Video with proof coming soon. Screenshots and testimonial. Hey, Captain America. I can't wait to see a video that proves something that's not true. I literally do not get paid by anybody. Nobody's ever reached out to me and said, hey, I will give you money to FUD Safemoon. Nobody's ever done that. That would have to be a photoshopped message. And it would be quite interesting to see you come up with that. So please do your best. And then I can't wait to shut you down. Why lie, man? Why lie about stuff like that? It's so weird. The degree of delusion that you have to go to and to me, this is such a funny thing. It's I'm not mad at you and I'm okay with it. You're just, you know what I mean? You've got too much invested in this. So I understand. But it's John Crony with the blockchain evidence, with millions of dollars of tether going in, with them not explaining where it came from, with the Moondog NFT, with the Gabe wallet, all of that, it's no proof. You can't prove anything. But when it comes to any type of allegations against anyone questioning Safemoon, it's just fact. It's just no matter what, without any evidence, without anything to point to anything, it's true. And it's like, you don't see that these double standards that you have. And at a certain point, it's like, why try to reason with somebody who has rejected reason on that specific issue? Because I don't think you're this unreasonable in all the other areas of your life. I doubt it. Even if by some, crypto is called the Wild West for a reason, so much to invest in its reputation and utility. Why would you buy a token that everyone is lying, stealing, etc.? I meant, to me, it was like, what it comes down to in a crypto is, do you expect the price to go up? Yes, you're going to buy it. Do you expect the price to go down? You're going to sell it. Do you think that there's opportunity there? You're not going to buy it, right? It's that simple based on all the other factors that you can add to that. If you expect to make a return, you're going to buy it. Regardless of what's happened to it, if people thought that Safemoon was about to release its blockchain and exchange, even though everything bad has happened, whales or bots or somebody is going to try to take advantage of that pump. And I can tell you right now that the entire time that Safemoon's price has been going down, that whales and bots and other people have been buying off and making profit of everybody who's been buying on the way down. So that it's really just a game, and being more aware definitely helps. Being in a delusion, in a dream, that can really hurt you if you're just feeding a bunch of whales and stuff. Like, that's what I told people. Like, people are so worried about people selling their Safemoon and you're missing out on the dream, right? They're so worried about that. They judge you, they condemn you for that, but they don't care if they convince people for the last year to buy every single dip on the way down. They reinforce that within each other. Oh, it's such a good price, I'm gonna buy. I'm like, guys, the price keeps going down. If you just wait, just wait a while. Just sell if you want to. Wait, buy what you had, and make a profit. Like, you literally could have made a huge profit by selling a long time ago and buying more than what you had. You know what I mean? It is that, unfortunately, because the more you put in on the way down, the more money you've wasted because the price keeps going down. But nobody has that reasonable mind or conversation in the space, because we don't really care about helping each other, being realistic. We care about fueling a vision that we don't know if it will happen, as if it will happen. And it's sad. It's sad to watch. Let's get to some of the good parts of this. Prayer for relief as to plaintiff's complaint that all claims and relief requested by plaintiff to be denied and dismissed, and that plaintiffs obtain no relief. Plaintiff be denied all forms of damages, that all declaratory relief requested by plaintiffs be denied, that no attorney's fees be rewarded to a plaintiff, that all injunctive relief requested by plaintiff be denied, that no costs be awarded. Okay, so here's probably the interest where it starts to get interesting, I'm guessing. Yeah. Okay, maybe not, but it does get interesting at a certain point. Counterclaim and third-party plaintiff Emanation Communications Group, LC, is a Utah limited liability company having its principal place of business in the state of Utah. LexVest, Ltd, is a Nevada limited liability company doing business in Clark County. Third-party defendant Lex Technica, Ltd, is a necessary and indispensable party. Third-party defendant Braden John Caroni is a necessary and indispensable party, an individual and resident of Utah doing business in Nevada and Utah. Nathan Morris. Okay, I think this is where it actually starts to get into the details. If you write it up and down, you get more reflections. That's the goal. Let the price take care of itself. Let people do what they want to do. Don't convince people not to sell, and don't be upset for people for selling. It's their investment. Why are we trying to control each other? Like, to me, it's like, that's so important to convey. Like, there's an honest way to talk about crypto, and there's a dishonest way. If you talk about it like it's guaranteed to fail or go up, then you're being dishonest, right? If you present all the evidence, positive and negative, you're not hiding anything, and you tell them, I don't know, but this is what I think, then you're doing it in an honest way. And that's just not happening in the spaces. But like that's where it's like, it gets crazy, right? Because the moon mindset, like, it only pays off on the 1 in a million, that super rare project that happens to really do well. And this is what fuels the moon mindset, is because we know that this does happen. We know that real projects do blow up and take their early investors on a crazy ride, like to the moon, insane profits, hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. So because that's a reality and we see it happening, we're looking for that. We're trying to be in on that. But the problem comes is when you're convinced that you have that to the degree that you keep buying something that only goes down, and where it appears to keep demonstrating that it is a untrustworthy project. Factual allegation in support of counterclaims and third-party claims. As early as 2018, Jennifer and Bradford Caroni, that's John's parents, began establishing valuable government and business relations and market opportunities to develop and grow telecommunication technology and infrastructure in the Republic of Gambia, located in West Africa. That's super interesting. Somehow Brad Caroni, John's dad, is somehow managing to stay out of all this. At least his name doesn't seem to appear in all this. Those efforts have matured into valuable relationships, invitations, approvals, and licenses to do business in the Gambia. In June 2021, ECG was established. So this was 3 months after Safemoon. The founding members of ECG included Jennifer and John Caroni. So the founding members of ECG was Jennifer and John. ECG members Jennifer Caroni and John Caroni adopted an operating agreement to govern the business of ECG. Under the operating agreement, Jennifer Caroni was designated as majority member and managing member. Under the operating agreement, John Caroni was designated as minority member. In June 2021, ECG's agent/affiliate entity, ECG Operations Group LC, was also established. The intended purpose of ECG was to develop superior antenna technology and products. Markets for products were to begin with business contacts, and opportunities in the Gambia. It was agreed that Jennifer Caroni would be responsible for day-to-day operations. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like button. Let's get some more people that hate me in here. Under a management agreement, ECG delegated its day-to-day business operations to ECG Operations. ECG and ECG Operations moved into portions of existing facility in Utah, ECG office, in or about November 2021. Okay, so that was about a year ago. Other portions of the same facility had previously been occupied and continue to also be occupied for a period of time by third-party Legacy Technical Group, LTG, including LTG's personal equipment, lasers, machinery, office supplies, lab supplies, computers, inventory, and personal property. While LTG consulted for a period of time for ECG and ECG Operations as an independent scientific contractor, neither ECG nor ECG Operations has any title or possessory control or interest in LTG or LTG property. This has been observed by and known to John Caroni since 2021. Scientific contractor. Neither ECG or ECG Operations has any title or possessory control or interest in LTG or LTG property. Okay. They're making that point that they don't have any possession or control over the LTG that was also within the same building that ECG was in, I'm guessing. And they're making the point that John knew this. So I'm guessing they're going to build upon that. Prior to June 2021, having learned of the strategic plans to be carried out by ECG Business, John Caroni manifested his desire to diversify his personal wealth out of cryptocurrency into a solid asset. His personal wealth. Personal wealth. Oh, man. Under the operating agreement, John Crony agreed to provide a capital investment to ECG in exchange for his minority members and for 33.3% profits from future sales of intended technology and or products developed from patented technology and sold into the global market. John Crony chose to invest and wait for any monetary return to him as dictated by the operating agreement. So, like, I guess what I see here, and you guys let me know in the live stream or down in the comments, depending on when you watch this. John was making an investment in this company with a expectation of 33%, a third of the profits, right, would be going to John. And it doesn't indicate that this is like from the company's expenses of Safemoon, right? I think that would be the separation, is this isn't being indicated to be financial backing from the company Safemoon or the LLC Safemoon. It seems to be his personal funds, his own personal money, which to me, like, you could break down the possibilities that John is investing in ECG as a opportunity to make huge profits on it, which I would think John would not invest that type of money if he didn't expect that return, right? Which means that he thinks that company had something up their sleeve. And that he thought that a third of the profits would end up being more profitable than the $5 million that he was investing. The question would then become, was John going to take those profits for himself? Or was that going to be used for Safemoon? Or was it going to be taken mostly for himself and kind of used for Safemoon? Are the main questions that I would have. Under the operating agreement, John Crony agreed to provide a capital investment in exchange for his minority members and for 33% profits from future sales of intended technology and products developed. So under the operating agreement, so John and his mom got together. They agreed to found this company, and the operating agreement was that John would be a minority member, and for $5 million invested, he gets a third of the profits from the future sales of the antenna technology and products developed from patented technology and sold in the global market. This is interesting because right around this time is, I believe, when all of the Safemoon team, like Thomas and Hank, are like, what the heck is John talking about? Operation Phoenix? What is this? What is going on? And this is, I think, where it's going to go into John starting to claim that this company that he invested a third in is the technology of Safemoon. And I think that's where a huge problem starts to happen. This is like what this is what Safemoon was built on, right? Operation Phoenix, the Gambia, the mesh technology, the mesh networks, the freedom of the unbanked, the wind turbines. All of this is tied to this. All of this, and this is tied to where John got millions and millions of dollars. Where did he get $5 million to invest in? It's all tied together, right? John chose to invest and wait for any monetary return to him as dictated by the operating agreements. John put his money in. He's waiting for the profits. Under the operating agreement, John Crony, like all members, did not require and did not receive any hard collateral right for any investment in ECG. John Crony did not object to the formation of ECG and ECG operations. John Crony has never objected to ECG and ECG operations sharing the same facility with a third party. For some reason, this third party is like coming into the picture as possibly being a part of something that is a problem within the allegations against ECG, I think. And they're having to say, John was okay with us being in a building that the same facility with having a third party that's not connected to us, that we have no control or possession over, and John was okay with that. John Crony signed the operating agreement of ECG. The operating agreement designates that ECG may, among other things, own, hold, transfer, acquire, and otherwise deal with intellectual property for use in connection with antenna products for telecommunications. Okay, I think that's pretty important. The operating agreement designates that ECG may, among other things, own, hold, transfer, acquire, and otherwise deal with intellectual property for use in connection with antenna products for telecommunications and apply for and acquire financing, grants, and funding for ECG and its operations, including from lenders. Okay, so they're saying that ECG has the right to get loans for what it's working on and to work with other, I guess, people to acquire, transfer, hold property in connection with their antenna products, which is so interesting because we didn't hear anything as far as an antenna product. We never heard about like the wording for that on the Safemoon side of the things. ECG hired ECG Operations as its agent to manufacture, produce hardware, software, and operating systems for antenna technology. ECG and ECG Operations have developed revolutionary antenna technology products using the technology of patent license acquired by ECG. Okay, so this is where like things start to get crazy in my opinion. John is willing to invest like $5 million into this with an expectation that the profits will be more than $5 million, right? If I'm understanding that correct, you guys can correct me. And for me, I don't think John's an idiot. Okay, I might think he's an idiot in certain ways and not an idiot in other ways is probably, and that applies to me too. Sometimes I'm an idiot, sometimes I'm not. I think that this company might have something up its sleeve, and it has to do with this antenna technology. That's why it says ECG and ECG Operations have developed revolutionary antenna technology products using the technology of patent license acquired by ECG. And this is where, like, I think that this, whatever this technology is, was going to be tied to setting up a bunch of wind turbines, using the nanotechnology to, help them run better, and then using that to create a mesh network or an internet for the Gambians at a low cost, by which could also be possibly connected to a cryptocurrency, which could then have been a system for them to use money, right? It's actually a really cool idea, I feel like, especially in a place where it might need something like that. This could have been really good, but it seems that for some reason, like, that's what I really want to understand is why did this really backfire? And right now, it seems like it is because of the lawsuits and because maybe they started to ask themselves the same question. Because I don't know about you guys, but I did this I've been covering Safemoon since April of 2021. And April, May, I jumped in a little bit later than everybody and started talking about it. And I covered it for so long. As a YouTuber, as a content creator, we're always looking for what can I talk about that's interesting to you guys? And what can I learn of value that I can bring to these videos? And one of the main things that I didn't know is, where did they get all their money? They've got millions of dollars. Where did they get that? I was like, that was really starting to bother me. And then I was hearing about these lawsuits. And I'm like, man, what's going on with these lawsuits? What if they sue Safemoon and Safemoon has to pay them, and then Safemoon doesn't have the financial capabilities to move forward anymore, right? And I was asking these questions, and everybody hated these. In the Twitter spaces, people, they're like, no, we're not allowed to think in any sense of what could go wrong. We are not allowed to think about that. You have to think that things are going to work out and that we have the best people and the best minds and the best intentions, and that anything negative happens, that had to be a positive thing, right? John had to be cleaning house. So it could be that John's mom, like that was the main question I had, is maybe they just didn't understand, but it was like, where did you think Miss Coroni it'd be awesome if she came out and spoke about this one day. But it's like, where did you think your son got $5 million in the cryptocurrency? I don't know how John explained that to her. I don't know what the explanation was. It could just be, well, I started this company, and maybe it was, the wording. Because, like, to me, the biggest thing that I really hate this. I hate when somebody speaks in general terms, because general, broad terms can sound amazing but not deal with anything specific, right? Well, Project Phoenix is sort of a conglomerate of multiple ideas coming together to form one ecosystem. And it's like, yeah, that sounds amazing, but you're not saying anything. You're literally saying nothing. It sounds amazing. You sound like, the next visionary, but you're not saying anything. And I really don't like that. It's like, say something specific. Say what your goal is. And just write off whatever you invested in Safemoon. So I'll get back into it. So yeah, but that's something really interesting there. That to me, and I'm sorry, I have to rant a little bit longer. If they have some type of revolutionary technology that was going to help the Gambians, that Safemoon could have been a part of, that could have been the biggest, coolest, best thing that actually would have taken Safemoon to the next level, right? If they had some new technology that then was able to go to different countries and implement these wind turbines that were able to produce a monetary system and an internet system for people at low cost, that other people were able to mint the wind turbines and share and gain that token off of that. Like, that could have been insane. And I would really like to know what it was that caused this to go downhill. But it does seem to be focused on the fact that maybe his mom started to think, where did he get this money and why are these lawsuits coming out? Because he told me that it was from a legit system, or maybe, I don't know what John told his mom. Like the market makers? Did he say the Bitmart deal? Did he say it's an NDA? I can't say. I mean, that seems like the most likely option is in the crypto space is like, oh, it's an NDA. And if you just, like, that's such a good excuse for corruption to happen in the crypto space. And just be like, oh, no, it's NDAs. We can't talk about that. Like, you can't tell me whether or not you just took the liquidity for Safemoon. That's an NDA? Sorry, guys. Part of ECG's strategic business plan is to monetize the revolutionary antenna product produced by ECG operations in global markets, including through the government and business relations and business opportunities in the Gambia. So ECG, the company formed by John and his mom, which I didn't know it was formed by John. I thought he just invested in it. But I guess they formed it together, founded it together. Plan is to monetize the revolutionary, so to make profit off of this revolutionary product, antenna product produced by ECG operations in global markets, including through the government and business relations and business opportunities in the Gambia. Okay, so make money off of this amazing technology they're bringing to the Gambia. In Article 3 of the operating agreement for ECG, John Crony expressly acknowledges that Jennifer Crony contributed services, expertise, experience, and consulting to ECG, including connections and contracts for various antenna networks, systems with government, public/private partnerships, and other contracts for antenna use globally. Based upon member contributions, members were given ownership percentages. For member contributions, John Crony expressly agreed that Jennifer Crony would receive 50.66% membership/ownership interest, and he, John Crony, would receive 33.34%. To conduct business under operating agreement, a consensus of a voting interest equal to more than 50% of the members' interest is required to bind ECG. So if I'm understanding that, maybe you guys are better at this lawyer stuff than me, because I'm honestly not good at it. It sounds like she has the right to do what she wants with, and John is in the minority. You need at least 50%, and she has the 50%, so there's no way to get, and John agreed to that. As the owner of a majority of member interest and as managing member, Jennifer Crony had all of this was coming down to John and his mom. Who would have thought? Jennifer Crony had the power and authority to conduct business of ECG and bind ECG. Under the operating agreement, John Crony knew and agreed as early as June 2021 his investment capital, if contributed, would be spent, namely $1,500,000 for the purchase of the 6 nanotechnology patents from a third party under the purchase, sale, and cooperation agreement, dated on or about June 10th, 2021. $1,500,000 to $2,500,000 for research and development, equipment, facilities, research team members, research cost and expenses, prototyping for the construction, testing, manufacturing, intellectual property protection of the antenna and or its components as contemplated under the PSCA, and $1 million for salaries, compensation for employees. So that would be about $5 million, right? Under the operating agreement, John Crony had agreed that the capital contributions of the members shall be returned to them to the extent provided at the end of the term of the company or upon earlier dissolution and termination of the company. He agreed that he had no right to demand the return of his capital contribution at an earlier date, and that he would have no right to demand and receive property other than cash in return for his capital contribution. John Caroni delayed funding the initial purchase of the patent license from a third party by a month, thereby jeopardizing that purchase. That's interesting. He later delayed and attempted to extort, additional percentages of ownership control before funding as required by development needs and schedule laid out by ECG business operations. Over time, John Caroni demanded upon threat of withholding further capital investment that ECG return capital to him by paying a number of his personal non-ECG bills and obligations from capital contributions already provided for ECG business purposes. So he's saying like money that was designated for ECG, he wanted them to use that on himself outside of what ECG was working on. John claims to have fully satisfied his capital funding commitment of $5 million by March 2022. It has recently been established that between the capital contributions actually provided and returns of capital, John Caroni has not paid approximately $400,000 of the committed $5 million capital contribution. So he's paid, $4,600,000? All members of ECG had discussed and realized that the monetary contributions of John Caroni's seed capital would only carry the business of ECG through its first year of operations. The seed capital was to get ECG and its operations up and running and carry it through its first year, that all members would wait for return on investments from then future sales. Over time, after the fall of 2021, ECG determined that John Caroni created too many business risks. So that's interesting. Sorry, I'm just reading. Determined that John Caroni created too many business risks and that due to lawsuits filed against him and his other companies, including Safemoon Crypto, ECG was uncomfortable accepting any more capital investments from him. And that was right around the time that the Barajali Group distanced itself from John, I believe. I could be getting that timeline wrong. But it was not long after the lawsuits came out that the Barajali Group was like, we are not in any way affiliated with any other company. And it was like, okay, clearly they're talking about SafeMoon. And then the SafeMoon maxis were like, yeah, that's because they suck and blah, blah, blah. It's so funny that that's people's logic. Like, you don't even think about things. You just, whatever supports what I want to believe, that's reality. That's such an interesting way to go about. And not everybody does that. Like, that's the thing is like, if you believe in SafeMoon, I don't care. But if you're out here like trying to destroy people and lie about people, then yeah, I care. I think you're crazy. I think you're absolutely nuts. And it's time to wake up. But if you believe in it and you're like, hey, I see all this stuff, but I'm still like holding long term, I don't care. I could be friends with you. I'm okay with that. I actually don't care. You might end up being right. I don't know what the future of the company holds. I just know that there's a lot of things that don't look good. And I don't think that those things necessarily guarantee the failure of SafeMoon, although it does paint it in a very bad light as far as investing goes. ECG hosted John Caroni every month through March of 2022 as his availability allowed. He traveled between the United Kingdom and Utah regularly. During ECG's annual member... Oh, gosh, why do I feel like this is about to get crazy? During EGC's annual member meeting in December of 2021, ECG provided him to date a full accounting of business records in hard copy and digital form for review, as well as a technical update as to technology development. So that's pretty interesting as well, like where we're at with our antenna technology. And that was in December of last year. ECG, which is also, John said that we were getting a full reveal of what was going to be happening with Operation Pheonix in December of last year. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. ECG informed John Caroni the business records were incomplete and needed some corrections. Additionally, ECG provided him with a picture inventory of all major acquired lab equipment. ECG's third-party scientific consultant, William Niedermeyer, nice name, man, of LTG provided in-depth briefings on requirements and schedules of additional testing, equipment, and pathways to the antenna product development success. If you haven't yet, guys, hit the like button. I appreciate that. In the December 2021 meeting, John Caroni was also provided copies of the licenses purchased with his capital investment money. On or about December 4th, 2021, ECG prepared a UCC1 formal listing of applicable lab equipment for John Crony. December 2021, ECG also provided John Crony with the scheduled spend plan at this meeting, and justification was provided by ECG's scientific consultant. At that time, John Crony raised no objections to expenditures of capital investments. So it seems like they're showing him, hey, this is where we're spending our money. John was cool with it. In December 2021, John Crony demanded that intellectual property related to hydrophobic and hydrophilic technology be developed and shown to John and licensed to his company, Ronin Energy. This demand diverted time and attention away from ECG's ongoing work with the antenna project, thereby delaying ECG technology and product development. That's interesting. Through February 2022, planned testing, because it seems like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot there that's not necessarily being explained quite clearly. But they're saying that because John demanded that intellectual property related to hydrophobic and hydrophilic technology be developed and shown to John and licensed to his company, Ronin Energy. Ronin, that's the same one that he bought his mansion. It's also the same name of the company that he had. He has many of the Ronin LLCs. He sticks with that Ronin name. He has one with Jack in the UK that you can go look up right now. Through February 2022, planned testing and estimates scheduled subject to supply chain delays and funding delay by John Crony were provided by ECG and its scientific consultant to John Crony. At John Crony's insistence, ECG members held an additional meeting in March 2002. Okay, that's got to be 2022. I doubt they went back in time to have that meeting, although that would be cool if the antenna technology could do that. Even though the meeting again detrimentally impacted important testing schedules of ECG, and of which John Crony was made aware. At least as early as March 2022, ECG discussed with John Crony the need for additional future funding because the seed capital will be used up by May or June 2022. So I'm getting a little confused here. Because didn't it say that as early as March 22, ECG discussed John Crony the need for additional future funding. But didn't they just say that they couldn't trust him because of the lawsuits? Or is it just saying that they started to not trust him? Sorry, I have to find this. Okay. Yeah. In 2021, ECG determined that John Crony created too many business risks and that due to lawsuits filed against him and his other companies, including Safemoon, ECG was uncomfortable accepting any more capital investments from him. I'm not sure what the answer is to this. I'm not saying one person's right or wrong. It just seems like, okay, right here you're uncomfortable with it, but then down here we're letting him know that we need more money. Yeah, within the next year, which I'm guessing is months later, they're letting John know we need additional future funding because the seed capital would be used up by May or June. From March through September 2022, upon demand, request and litigation proceedings of the Utah State Court, ECG and its related companies, including ECG operators, has provided John Crony business records of ECG and ECG operations for review, inspection, and copying to verify the use of capital contributions. Over time, John Crony has, without permission from ECG and contrary to the request of ECG, disclosed confidential and or sensitive ECG business information for the benefit of his cryptocurrency business, Safemoon. Oh, man. Oh, man. Hey, Marcus. I hope you made the right decision, man. So this is such a crazy story, and who knew that it would end up being family drama is the heart of what determined the success of Safemoon. I would really love to hear John's side of this versus his mom's side. It's awesome that it's happening in a lawsuit format that's being made public because John he's just not transparent. He's one of the least transparent people I've ever seen. NDAs, very general, broad answers to questions, and he'd probably make a good politician. I don't want to crap on John too much, but he'd probably make a good politician. A Democrat, at least. I don't know about being a conservative. That's such a big deal, though. Over time, John Crony has, without permission from ECG, so he formed this company with his mom, and contrary to the request of ECG, disclosed, saying, please don't tell anybody about this, confidential and or sensitive ECG business information in order to benefit his cryptocurrency business, Safemoon. In order to hype us up, right? In order to get us excited, in order to get hundreds of thousands to millions of people, however many people were in Safemoon at the time that we heard about these things, hyped and buying more, right? This is crazy. For example, John Crony demanded receipts of ECG operations related to technology expenses so he could make claims on social media and Safemoon's website about the technology, falsely claiming ownership of the technology. He was counseled not to do so because of potential adverse effects on pending and future patents and other intellectual property. He proceeded contrary to the express request of ECG and ECG operations to not do so. So they're saying, stop talking about that. Stop talking about what we're doing, especially regarding the patents that's pending that people could like steal, I guess. And it happened anyways. The operating agreement, I have another video coming up eventually, guys. I'm about to start talking about another project. I'm about to start making videos on it. It's a concept that is completely new to DeFi. It'll be fun to see how it works in the DeFi space, and I'll have mathematical videos explaining how it works. But either before that or after that, there's kind of this funny story that I found out that I don't know if you guys knew this, that because John went towards centralization and everybody else on the team, Kyle, Thomas, Hank, everybody hated John, they all had a plan to basically take over Safemoon, is what it sounded like. They had control over the socials. So I'll probably tell that story at some point, that there was a time that Safemoon, almost like without any warning, you would have waken up and seen that the Twitter account, that all of the socials were changed to another company. I was like, damn, that's crazy. That's a crazy story. So that almost happened. We all almost woke up to Safemoon being a different brand, right? I'll tell that story soon, though. So John demanded receipts to technology expenses so he could make claims on social media and Safemoon's website about the technology, falsely claiming ownership of the technology. And this is where it's weird, right? This is where I'm not quite understanding. Because John was a founder of the company, right? But he's the minority founder of ECG. His mom, he owns 33%, his mom owns 55%. His mom gets to make the decisions for ECG, and technically John doesn't. So that could be where the line is that because she is the majority owner about the decisions, if I'm understanding this correctly, for ECG, that John does not have the right to therefore, with a separate company, claim, even though he's invested in it, claim that technology as his own. I think I'm understanding that right. He was counseled not to do so because of potential adverse effects on the funding. Okay, yeah, we read that. The operating agreement requires members to refrain from interfering with devalue. Okay, so based on the agreement, you cannot interfere with or devalue any transaction or property or circumventing the business purposes in which ECG is involved. John Crony has violated this requirement of the operating agreement. That's interesting. Lots of interesting stuff in here. For example, in March 2022, facing a deadline to create value and seeking a solution promised on social media. Oh my God. Holy cow. John Crony and Safemoon to show hard business of Safemoon on or before Safemoon's 1-year anniversary. John Crony reached out to and received an invitation from ECG's business partners in the Gambia to consider a business opportunity to invest in a proposed reinstatement of the country's defunct agriculture bank, including a brick and mortar bank to Safemoon crypto to exchange into fiat currency. Oh, shoot. Why is everything going downhill with Safemoon? Damn. How'd you mess up that one? In that pursuit, oh, I remember how he messed up this one, and I think we're about to read it. In that pursuit, John Crony was extended the courtesy of an invitation, being the son of Jennifer and Bradford Crony. John Crony was informed by ECG that due to his declining reputation and business practices, that his pursuit of further business in the Gambia could not only hurt the Gambia's fledgling but promising entrance onto the world stage as a new democracy, but also devalue ECG's business opportunities in the Gambia. I bet that pissed him off. Knowing these concerns, John Crony requested to be hosted in country anyway and was granted the opportunity to present business opportunities to ECG's business partners in the Gambia. So, like, because his reputation was declining from the lawsuits and the accusations, they wanted to distance themselves from John. And he still said, let's do a meeting. This required John Crony to present concrete business plans and show resources to accomplish the business plans. Instead of providing the requested business plans and related information, John Crony conducted himself in illegal and unprofessional ways, thereby offending ECG's business partners with senior government officials. Jesus, man. In addition, John Crony attempted to circumvent and divert ECG business opportunities in the Gambia away from ECG and to himself and or other businesses. So it sounds like John went there and tried to convince them to not go through ECG, but to go directly through him, I'm guessing, is what their counterclaim is. Under the current circumstances, John Crony's repeated misguided conduct is a liability to the ongoing viability and success of ECG and its intended market in the Gambia. Time is of the essence for the delivery of the antenna technology to the Gambia. John Crony's repeated publication of statements in social media putting ECG investment, assets, and reputation at risk have prompted ECG to take additional precautions related to disclosures of ECG to John Crony about ongoing and confidential ECG technology and product development. This, like, the crazy thing about this is if my mom had a company that I had helped form with her, and I understood that, like, it was not necessarily my own company or my own technology, but it was rather something that I invested in, there would at least be a conversation like, hey, Mom, I have this company. I have all these investors that are looking forward to news, and I want to let them know what it is that we're working on. Are you okay if I present this? Can I present this as what we're working on? And it seems like they might have had that conversation, but that she said basically, no, don't talk about this because it could endanger what it is that we're working on, the patent technology. We need to get it done first. And this technically isn't a part of that company. This is a separate company, ECG. I don't know. It seems to be like almost like all of this is coming down between a fight about a specific company called ECG. And I don't think John, I don't think he ever would have told anybody about this if it didn't come down to a lawsuit. It's almost better that it did for us, so that we could know what the truth is, because certain people are just never going to tell us that unless it comes out in a freaking lawsuit. For example, John Crony began calling the labs of ECG and ECG operations Dark Moon and Area 32. So it's like John just like in his mind just like assumed that was his business or part of Safemoon, even though they're saying like, no, we're not a part of Safemoon. That's so interesting. ECG repeatedly counseled and conferred with John Crony for months, explaining the potential risk and harms to his personal investment in ECG by continuing to disparagingly refer to the labs as Dark Moon and Area 32. That's hilarious. That's hilarious, dude. They're like, stop calling us that. And John has got all of the Safemoon army, myself included, hyped up about this secret Dark Moon in Area 32. And we came to find out that it's this cool name for like what we thought was Safemoon. Like, right? When we heard about Dark Moon in Area 32, we thought that was the part of the Safemoon people working on the back on the technology. I think we always thought that we had this team working on technology, and we didn't realize that it was a company that was not a part of Safemoon. But because it was being presented that way to us, right? It was being presented as a part of Safemoon. ECG wanted no such taint to be associated with such designations. Nevertheless, John Crony and Safemoon persist in this errant public behavior. I think John's claim would be that because he invested and founded it, that it is his, even though he agreed in the founding of it, and that his mom would have control over it. Unless within that contract it was agreed to that this was for Safemoon, right? I feel like if that's not in there, then it's not a part of Safemoon. Consistent with and as authorized by the operating agreement, ECG exercised its right to a buyout of John Crony's membership interest, giving notice thereof on August 5th, 2022, and informing John Crony and all other counterclaim and third-party defendants. Oh, sorry, I missed an important part right there. John Crony's business and public conduct has resulted in death threats to himself, fudge, dude, and his family members, including the managing members of ECG, his mother, and in new lawsuits being filed against Safemoon. Yeah, death threats aren't the most fun thing. Nothing like somebody's telling you they're going to kill you. Consistent with and as authorized by the operating agreement, ECG exercised its right to a buyout. Yep, we read that. As the seed capital of ECG was nearing its end in the spring of 2022, ECG needed additional funding. Due to John Crony's harmful conduct, including disparagement of ECG conduct causing devaluation and his circumvention attempts to contrary to the best interests of ECG and future businesses in the Gambia, it was determined by ECG to seek alternative continued funding from others not associated with John Crony. In April 2022, Jennifer Crony, acting for ECG through ECG operations, reached out to John Knecht, a long-time family friend seeking contacts for potential funding. In initial April 2022 communications to Jennifer Crony, John Knecht referred to ECG to his son, Adam Knecht, for potential funding, including funding through a known wealth mega millionaire. Jennifer Crony of ECG and ECG operations had a Zoom meeting with Adam Knecht in mid-April 2022. As a follow-up, an ECG business plan for telecom applications was prepared and sent from Jennifer Crony to Adam Knecht and John Knecht in April 2022. Near the end of April 2022, Adam Knecht and ECG operations had exchanged a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, signed by Adam Knecht. In May, Jennifer Crony provided Adam Knecht with an internet service provider business plan for implementation in the Gambia using ECG technology and products. In May 2022, John Crony requested to further review business records associated with ECG. ECG invited John Crony to wait until July 2022, I think it's another typo, so that ECG records could be corrected. John Crony refused and pressed for early inspection. Hey, what's up, Maddie, in the chat? Claim of ownership directly can be made if you personally fund for equity ownership proxy by company funds to require steps in order to put your name on it. Still falls under the IP law. As a CEO, you're only a member of the company. You don't own the legal rights to, unless exclusively agreed upon, to include an individual in conjunction with enterprise. Yeah, I don't know. But I think that we're going to find out once this is settled in court, you know. ECG and ECG operations informed John Crony that ECG had faithfully recorded and accounted all spending in QuickBooks. The ECG entities contact with third-party bookkeepers and accountants to maintain and correct their business records. Competent, specialized bookkeepers and accountants for research and development companies were in short supply. The tax accounting and lawyer marketing had an extreme shortage. Request of ECG entities to expedite preparation for tax documents has been met with delays because tax professionals being short-handed. As a result, preparation of the necessary accounting records and tax filings for ECG have been delayed by lack of professionals with needed expertise. Okay. On May 20, John Crony and ECG exchanged a proposed NDA to govern further inspection of ECG records by John Crony. This NDA was drafted by John Crony's counsel. In May 27, 2022, telephone call ECG indicated it would not make company records available to John Crony for inspection until mid-July 2022. On May 31st, counsel for John Crony sent ECG a draft complaint. Due to John Crony's threat of litigation, ECG capitulated, and due to John Crony's history of harmfully misusing ECG business information, permitted only a limited inspection of business records of ECG on June 10th, and reported to John Crony that ECG accountants were still laboring on ECG business records to ensure accuracy and completeness. June 13th, Adam Necht, Sam Castor, and Nathan Morris met with the personnel of ECG and ECG operations at the ECG office in Utah. At that time, Sam Castor and Nathan Morris also signed NDAs protecting confidential business information of ECG. In the June 13th, 2022 meeting, personnel of ECG and ECG operations met with Sam Castor, Nathan Morris, and Adam Necht. ECG disclosed confidential business information to Sam Castor, Nathan Morris, and Adam Necht, including ECG's need for additional capital by July 1st, 2022. Because the seed capital was used up, the meeting participants discussed John Crony's threatened lawsuit alleging mismanagement of ECG and seeking return of his investment capital. So at this point, it kind of sounds like, and I'm not sure all the details, but it sounds like they're saying, we don't have enough to finish what we need to do in order to produce profit. We need more money. And John's trying to figure out, well, what was all the money spent on? And that they're trying to tell him, I mean, it said earlier that they provided him all those documents, but it also seems that John is pressing them for information that they are then telling him that he needs to wait on because they want to make sure it's all accurate. And that John, at a certain point, is trying to get his money back because he felt like he invested in something that I don't know. Maybe might not get him money's back, or he didn't want to invest more than that to get his money back. Sam Castor asserted that Lex Technica would serve as in-house counsel for matters related to ECG. Jennifer Crony recited grounds for counterclaims against John Crony, to which Nathan Morris stated that ECG, through Lex Technica, should immediately sue John Crony for declaratory judgment. Jennifer Crony inquired as to what that would entail. The parties agreed to work toward a July 1st, 2022 funding to meet the ongoing payroll and technology and product development needs of ECG's antenna project. You know, the weird thing about this to me is, like, the people that work with John, do they really think he's innocent and not taking investors' money and not screwing over his mom's company? They really, like, believe his side of things? Or did they just, like, stay there for the money? At the June 13th, 2022 meeting, Jennifer Crony also sought counsel whether the source of John Crony's personal investment capital would raise any issues if John Crony's personal investment capital came from Safemoon. What? Hold on a second. Okay. In June 13th, 2022, meeting Jennifer Crony also expressed, so John's mom said that she was concerned that John was escalating matters in an attempt to gain control of ECG. That John was using a lawyer probably and trying to find a way to gain control of this company, by which he was, in his mind, Safemoon's utility. They also discussed potential further funding of ECG through an initial $500,000 of funds provided by Sam Castor, Nathan Morris, and Adam Necht. At the June 13th, 2022 meeting, Jennifer Crony also sought counsel whether the source of John Crony's personal investment capital would raise any issues if John Crony's personal investment capital came from Safemoon. Like, to me, that's such a big statement. His mom was seeking to understand whether or not, if John's money, if it came from Safemoon, if it would raise any concerns. She was seeking to understand, if this came from Safemoon, is it a problem? And that's what everything that we are focused on for the past months, and CoffeeZillas and his team, Bootsy Uncovered, that everybody's been talking about, is focused on, is where did his money come from? Because we kind of feel like this is our money. We feel like this $5 million investment came from us, and that it was really our money, and that it not necessarily like the company's profit, our money, but like literally our liquidity, our money. That's the concern, right? At June 13th, 2022 meeting, Jennifer Crony also sought counsel whether, okay, I already read that. From June 13th, 2022, Forward Lex Technica acted as counsel to ECG, and ECG relied upon the representations and advice of Lex Technica to the exclusion of ECG's prior counsel. At that time, Lex Technica advised ECG that ECG's use of single-purpose entities was not a violation of the operating agreement. On June 15th, 2022, ECG disclosed to Nathan Morris ECG's rollout of ISP technology in Tool, Utah, to confirm the telecom functionality of ECG technology. Las Vegas. Upon incorporation of LexFX, Sam Castor was designated managing member and registered agent with the address for both positions. Sam Castor informed ECG that LexVest would be funded by a separate investment entity. Sam Castor for LexVest represented an agreement to fund $20,000 for needed equipment with an additional loan up to $500,000 at 18% interest, with the loan to be convertible to note with patent license as collateral. On June 20th, 2022, in response to a request for information for loan documents, ECG provided information related to patent license acquisition. Independent contractor William Niedermeyer, that's just a funny name, Niedermeyer, who is a third party occupying a portion of ECG's rented office space. ECG's operating agreement, John Caroni's contribution to ECG and Barajali, and a third party company for business in the Gambia. Drafts of the loan documents were subsequently exchanged. ECG rejected a number of the terms inconsistent with the discussion between the LexVest and ECG parties, including terms adverse to ECG and terms giving the lender automatic default should any litigation be threatened against ECG, because both parties to the loan already knew about John Caroni's threats. So it seems like they're saying, like, we can't agree to these terms. Lex Technica assured ECG that it would revise the terms rejected by ECG and transmit revised documents for signing. On June 30th, 2022, revised loan documents were sent to ECG. Lex Technica assured ECG that the requested changes were made. LexVest stated that it would not timely fund ECG's next payroll for ECG's key personnel team and for ECG's ongoing research and development unless ECG signed the loan papers. This threatened a layoff of ECG's key personnel team. ECG relied upon this assurance from this counsel, Lex Technica. ECG also relied upon the assurance expressed by Lex Technica that Lex Technica was watching out for ECG's best interests as an ongoing business for the mutual benefit of ECG and the lender. ECG received and signed the revised loan agreement based upon Lex Technica's assurance, and that the requested changes had been made, and that the loan documents were in the best interests of ECG as an ongoing business toward completion of technology and product development and monetization. ECG would not have entered into the original loan agreements if ECG had known that the representations were not true, and but for the threat of withholding payroll and other needed funding. From June 20 to June 30, 2022, Sam Castor, Nathan Morris, Adam Neck, Lex Technica, and LexVest raised no concern about the proposed loan being in any way inconsistent with the terms of the operating agreement. John had to invest the money he's got in Safemoon, because if not, he would have to pay capital gain by 2022. He's facing money laundering, scamming, and violating SEC rules. So, like, that's what I think is. I think it's a possibility that John goes to jail. Everybody's got a different selling point. It's not the same for everybody. Some people it was Thomas. Some people it was the failed wallet. Some people it was the exchange and blockchain. Some people it was CoffeeZilla's videos. Some people it was Safemoon Joe turning. Some people it was this recent launch yesterday that felt like an absolute failure because they blamed bots as being the reason that the launch yesterday of that project was able to basically pump and steal the money before other people had the ability to. John going to jail, that would be, what do you guys think? Like, that would be, how many maxis and believers would be left if John went to jail? I'd say there'd still be like a decent percentage-wise of people left who would say, like, John would finally get a taste of what everybody gets a taste of when you turn on SafeMoon. If you're Thomas, he was the wizard. He was the master blockchain, chief operating whatever. And then if you turn on My Dream of Being Rich, you're an idiot. And I'm glad John got rid of you. Ryan, amazing. Came in, saved the wallet, built the wallet. Oh, you had problems with John? We don't need you. Get out of here. You wanted to be in charge. All you do, like, we trash on you. And it's what amazing fate of irony it would be that finally the SafeMoon maxis turn on John Caroni himself. And that would be probably when he went to jail. I mean, it's happening right now. Maxis are turning on John. They're becoming fudders. Maxis are becoming fudders. And fudder is seen as a negative thing, but if the FUD is true, then a fudder is just someone who tells the truth. Quote that. Somebody quote that and put that on Twitter. Crypto control. That's a great saying. I'll do it to myself. All right. A lot of very interesting, like I could make tons of videos out of this, but I'm going to be busy with something else for the next couple weeks. As of June 2022, based on the representations and expressed intent of parties, ECG was confident that additional funding would be forthcoming, including a hard money bridge loan of $1 million to keep ECG and ECG operations in operation for a number of months, during which ECG would be assisted by LexVest in putting further funding in place for ECG's ongoing business, including the antenna project. What I'm curious about is this project dead because it doesn't have enough funding, or is it good? Or is it trying to come out of this situation with John and these other investors in ECG to get some money, like a countersuit in order to get money? I don't know. Prior to July 1st, 2022, and at all times thereafter, ECG has satisfied all the milestones required for funding under the loan agreement, and LexVest never asserted that ECG had not met the milestones. See, it sounds like this is turning against LexVest as well. On July 1st, as a defense against them, like we met what they required of us, ECG received a wire transfer of $250,000 deposited into a designated account of ECG operations. Whereas ECG employed ECG operations as ECG's, agent to conduct all day-to-day efforts in furtherance of ECG's business purpose as permitted by the operating agreement, ECG directed LexVest to transfer the funds directly to ECG's agent, namely EGC Operations. The loan money was received by ECG Operations. The payment was received weeks later than the June 1st, 2022 date ECG anticipated from earlier discussion with Adam Necht and Sam Castor. So they got the money, but they got it late, is what it sounds like. The money was promptly used exclusively for the business's purposes and benefit of ECG. None of the loan money deposited with ECG's agent, ECG Operations, was returned to LexVest through any mechanism. As such, LexVest provided loan money for ECG business purposes and operations, and that loan money was used only for that purpose. The transfers to ECG Operations accounts were for the purpose of fulfilling the antenna business purpose stated in the operating agreement, which seems to be the main technology that we are looking to. That seems to be that SEP is what is so big. Without reasonable hope, I think this antenna technology is why John and why LexVest and other companies are willing to invest, is because they see that, hey, we think you guys have something big. That's why they're willing to invest that amount of money. That's just my opinion, but I think that's just basic logic as well. Without reasonable hope of additional funding from John Crony, it was incumbent upon ECG to keep the antenna project alive for the benefit of all members of ECG, including seeking further funding. Seeking funding was a fundamental charge of ECG consistent with its antenna business purpose and expressly provided for in the operating agreement. Seeking funding was necessary for the ongoing business of ECG. John Crony refused to participate in further funding consistent with the operating agreement. It could be that, and maybe I need to actually go over all of John's claims. It could be that John was saying that their involvement through seeking funding outside of him was a means as to how he could gain control of the company. And that they're saying, we couldn't trust you and you weren't funding us, so therefore to keep the company alive, we had to seek it. And not only is that okay, but we agreed to that was okay in the beginning when we founded this. I think that's their argument. Therefore, ECG rightfully sought and obtained funding. Yeah. Doing so required no approval or oversight by John Crony under the operating agreement, because his mom gets to determine everything because it's 50% vote and she owns 50% of the company, right? ECG sought to put that funding with LexVest in place in a timely way to maintain ongoing business-related research and development of the antenna project. This is with his mom. You imagine how crazy that would be, having to deal with this type of stuff with your mom? It'd be cool to talk to her. Jennifer, if you watch my channel, you should reach out to me. Neither ECG nor ECG Operations conspired with LexVest to deprive or divest John Crony of his investment, saying they didn't work together to mess with John's investment in the company. The term of the ECG operating agreement remained in full force to provide him a 33.3% personal profit from future sales of antenna component products. Oh, so John, you still got your 33%, man. You still get that third of the profits as long as they succeed, man. With our money from the liquidity pool, if that's where you got it, which you won't answer that question or deny that it came from us, which is extremely interesting that you won't even do that part. Safemoon won't even say, hey guys, we can't talk about it, but it didn't come from you. They won't even say that. That just blows my mind. That's like the number one thing I would say if I was in their position. If I was in Safemoon's position and through some type of market maker, I was able to make a lot of profit off of, I was somehow able, this is their argument, it just blows my mind, somehow able to make $19 million, right? And it didn't negatively impact Bitmart, and it didn't negatively impact my investors. If that's possible, which is just, somebody has to take the hit. It's stupid to suggest that. I would at least tell them, if there was an NDA, guys, I didn't take your money. I can't talk about necessarily exactly how I got that money, but I can tell you that it didn't come from you. I would at least tell you that. But John has refused to do that. Safemoon has refused to do that. Instead, they've gone on a blocking spree. They just go block everybody and claim to be like happy and loving we love the Flutters. And then they just block. It's like, no, you don't. You hate us. You absolutely hate us because we talk about what you don't want us to. I think that my FUD probably carries a lot more weight to it. I mean, obviously CoffeeZilla's FUD carries a lot of weight because he has such a massive audience. But because I don't get personal and because I control my emotions, what I have to say goes a lot further when FUD wise, whenever I'm being respectful and you can't point to me and say, oh, you're just being a douchebag, man. The terms of the ECG operating agreement remain in full force. So he gets a third of the profit still. Even if he's in jail, I guess he's going to get a third of the profits from them if they do well one day. So, hey, it might work out for John. When he gets out of jail, he gets to get the profits. Within days of June 30, 2022, John Caroni continued his threats of litigation and allegations against ECG, including against sending a draft complaint to ECG. Around July 1st, ECG received payment of $250,000 from LexVest. On or about July 8th, 2022, Lex Technica memorialized its role as in-house counsel for ECG in a written legal representation agreement. LexVest required ECG to sign the agreement as part of the loan arrangement. ECG signed the legal representation agreement with the understanding that Lex Technica would also represent ECG in anticipated litigation with John Caroni. Was that part of the agreement, or was it just outside understanding? The representation agreement listed Sam Castor, Nathan Morse, Adam Necht, and Jessica Reniker as ECG's in-house counsel network. That's like a pretty big deal to like, if that's wrong, right? Because it's like, when they signed this agreement for the loan, they're saying, ECG, John's mom, I believe, is saying that when they signed that, they agreed to represent them if John took them to court over, I guess, anything, if I'm understanding that correctly. Contrary to ECG's best interest, Lex Technica insisted that the legal representation agreement require ECG to waive any and all conflicts of interest that might arise with Lex Technica due to LexVest's investment. ECG signed the document because ECG understood that Lex Technica had been acting as counsel to ECG since mid-June 2022. Again, Lex Technica assured ECG that the terms of the representation agreement were typical and not in any way adverse to ECG or its ongoing interest and were for the completion of technology and product development and monetization. This is such a crazy thing. It's just like he said, she said, agreements on funding, but it's all tied to Safemoon and John and his mom. On or about July 11th, ECG provided Lex Technica as part of their duties as in-house counsel with a copy of John Caroni's previously threatened lawsuit and now drafted verified complaint. Following receipt of John Caroni's verified complaint draft, Lex Technica provided ECG with amended loan documents reflecting a new contingency paragraph for a potential lawsuit from a third party. Lex Technica assured ECG that this was typical and not in any way adverse to ECG or its ongoing interest. Following receipt of LexVest's amended loan documents on or about July 11th, ECG received a litigation notice letter from Lex Technica introducing themselves as the in-house counsel for LexVest. In the same letter, Lex Technica gave formal notice that due to receipt of potential litigation threat, the formal process of collateral seizure by LexVest had begun, and any increase in the loan would require additional assurances and greater collateral. Lex Technica assured ECG that this was typical and not in any way adverse to ECG or its ongoing interest, which makes it sound like it's the opposite of that. That's what's going to happen. On or about July 12, 2022, ECG received a future assurance letter from Lex Technica. The letter stated that given the threat of litigation, the principals of LexVest, namely Sam Castor, Nathan Morris, and Adam Necht, requested additional assurance that ECG could meet loan obligations, backed by additional collateral and a demonstratable version of the nanotechnology. Lex Technica advised ECG as to this request. Though Sam Castor, LexVest sought further revisions to the loan. We got some upset people in the chat. Hey man, when your dream of being rich is on the line, I get it. But at a certain point, you got to wake up. At a certain point, you will wake up. There's people that I think wouldn't, even if John Crony went to jail. Like, there was people, and people are very bad at understanding metaphors when they don't want to understand them. There was people that supported Ted Bundy while he was in prison. They thought he was innocent. They fought for his innocence. There's always going to be like a small group of people that have a personal interest that causes them to hold on to a delusion to the very bitter end. Now, I'm open to like the 1% Hail Mary chance that somehow John Crony can explain that everybody that he ever worked with was actually the assholes, and that his own family he happened to be born into the worst family possible, and that his own mom betrayed him and took the company away from him, and that he made $19 million that didn't negatively impact his own investors, and he never told them about it. If there's some just insane Hail Mary throw from the 0-yard line to the touchdown for John Crony, then I can't wait to hear it. But as of right now, it's like 99.9%, maybe 99.5%. John Crony is an asshole and took our money and is not dealing with his mother properly. But hey, I'm open to all the possibilities. Even though some people don't think I am, I really am. All right, let's get to the bottom of this. Sam Castor for Lex Technica. So, okay, I'll read this part again. Lex Vex stated it would not timely fund ECG's next payroll for ECG's key personnel team and ECG's ongoing research and development unless ECG signed the revised loan papers as presented by ECG. This threatened the layoff of ECG's key personnel team. Again, Lex Technica advised ECG in this matter. So like the second time they're having to worry about people losing their jobs because they don't have funding for this, what it is that they're working on. And it's not quite giving us an update on like how close are they to finishing what it is that they're working on. How much more time do they need? I don't know if they would put that in these documents, but it's interesting to know, like, are you guys 20%, 50%, 70%, 80%? How close is it to being finalized to where it can actually produce a profit to where you don't need investors anymore to keep the company going? ECG again rejected terms apparently adverse to ECG. In response, Lex Technica assured ECG that the revised terms would not be applied adverse to ECG, assuring ECG that the revisions were necessary to prevent John Crony from seizing control of ECG and that the revised terms were typical loan terms and were needed to ensure the ongoing business of ECG toward completion of technology and product development and monetization. The revisions were necessary to prevent John Crony from seizing control of ECG. This is a company struggle between mother and son. On or about July 12, 2022, ECG signed the First Amendment to the PSCA with Emanation Communications Group, LLC, providing an assignment of patent rights to LexVest with assurances from Lex Technica that this was necessary to safeguard ECG assets. On or about July 12, 2022, ECG received a document entitled Amendment to Loan Agreement with ECG was given a shortened timed frame to review. It's like when we pass laws and you've got like hours to read something that would take weeks to read. Lex Technica assured ECG the revisions were necessary to prevent John Crony from seizing control of ECG, with assurances from Lex Technica that this would not be harmful to ECG. All parties signed this document approximately 5 minutes after receipt. Mitch Bromo, thank you for the $1, man. I really appreciate that. If you guys support me, do me a favor, drop a like. It literally does nothing except promote the stream to more people. It doesn't give me any money or anything. It just makes me feel better about myself. If you really want to have a discussion with me, I open Twitter Spaces and I allow anybody to come up if there's something you want to say to me. I find most of the fudders disappear when I provide a platform for them to actually discuss with me. And when they do come up, they get very emotional and attack me and mock me, which is not a very convincing argument that you're on the logical side when you resort to personal attacks over whether or not information is factual or not, and you get emotional. That just convinces me that your emotions are causing you to not think straight, that your desire to be rich is not necessarily helping you make the most logical conclusions or have the most balanced standards of determining what's right and wrong. ECG again relied upon advice from its counsel, Lex Technica, to sign the revised loan documents on or about July 12, 2022. And I want to stop for a second. If John was able to not go to jail over what he did, and he was able to work with this company on what appears to be revolutionary technology involving antennas and helping the Gambia, like we talked about, with all those things that Project Phoenix was told to us as, because what it is that John's mom's company is being portrayed to Safemoon as Safemoon's company, and then there's a struggle over literally everything that we were promised, except for like the exchange and blockchain and the wallet and the swap. Based upon the assurances and representations of counsel, Lex Technica to ECG at no time prior to or after June 30th, 2022, did ECG understand that any loan document or associated assignment, security, or interest document signed by ECG affected by an immediate transfer of collateral assets or possessory control of ECG to LexVest. Lex Technica and its representatives led ECG to believe and understand that the revised loan documents were to further prevent John Caroni from attempting to seize ECG assets and property and would not be used adverse to ECG. So I think they're saying that everything that they convinced us that were in the loan agreements was only for the purpose of making sure that John Caroni was not able to take over ECG. This is so interesting. Within days, LexVest again demanded further revision to the loan document upon the threat of withholding further funding, which LexVest knew was essential for the least upcoming payroll of key personnel. Again, the loan documents were amended, adding further provisions appearing to be adverse to ECG. Namely, Sam Castor, acting as managing partner of Lex Technica, stated that given the threat of litigation, he requested additional assurances that ECG could meet the loan agreement obligations backed by additional collateral and provide a demonstrable version of the nanotechnology that justifies his group's further investment. Okay, cool. That's what I was wanting to know. So, given the threat of litigation, he requested additional assurances that ECG could meet the loan agreement obligations backed by additional collateral and provide a demonstrable version of the nanotechnology that justifies the group's further investment. Which, in my mind, if I was investing in that, I would be like, can you fulfill this with this certain amount of money? Can you finish the product so that we can start making money? Because otherwise, I'm just feeding into something that's going to need money later. I would imagine that would be within agreements too, especially like it says, a demonstrable version of the nanotechnology that justifies his group's further investment. Pretty reasonable request from my perspective. ECG again raised its concerns with Lex Technica and LexVest. Again, Lex Technica assured ECG that the terms were ordinary terms needed to prevent John Caroni from gaining control of ECG and its assets and to ensure the ongoing business of ECG and for the completion of technology and product development monetization. So there's something within their agreement of the loan that's bothering them, and they keep saying no, this is only to prevent John from gaining control. It won't be used against you. This part of the loan agreement is not going to be used against you. It's just to make sure that John doesn't get control. And it sounds like the reason they're saying that is that they backtracked and that they did use that part of the loan agreement that they assured them that was for John, that they did use that in some sense against them, I guess. Lex Technica also advised ECG about strategies to debunk or short-circuit John Crony's threats of litigation, assuring ECG that Lex Technica could initiate preemptory legal proceedings to stymie John Crony's legal posturing. Stymie, I don't know what that word is, but I get the idea of what it is in that context of that sentence. To obstruct. Again, ECG relied upon the advice of its counsel, Lex Technica, and signed further revised loan documents on about July 14th, 2022. ECG would not have entered into the second amended loan agreements if ECG had known that the representations were not true, but for the threat of withholding payroll of needing other funding. So they're saying we wouldn't have done that if we had known that the representations of LexVest were not true. So it seems like ECG, John's mom, is at odds with all her investors. She's at odds with John, and she's at odds with LexVest. That LexVest was promising them that through this loan that they're using to fund their development, that there's a part of the contract that was concerning to them, but that part, they assured them that part was only so that John Crony could not take control over it, but that they're saying right here that they backtracked and that they are using that in some way against them, that LexVest is using that part of the contract that they promised they wouldn't use to in a way that they promised they wouldn't use it, assured them they wouldn't use it. Lex Technica informed counsel for John Crony that Lex Technica would be representing ECG related to disputes asserted by John Crony. Lex Technica led ECG to believe that Lex Technica would aggressively defend ECG against claims asserted by John Crony. This put ECG at ease as to the ongoing threats of John Crony. On July 14th, Lex Technica informed previous counsel for ECG that they were discharged and that Lex Technica would take over the representation of ECG. On or about July 15th, 2022, LexVest arranged for a potential third-party investor to meet with ECG and tour its office and lab in pursuit of substituting the third-party investment for LexVest to further funding for ECG. LexVest led ECG to believe that third-party investment was possible in short term. Okay. Take a drink of my coffee. How you guys doing? You guys having a good, what the heck is today? Thursday? Damn, these weeks go by fast, man. I won't touch any crypto as mom creates. What a bunch of people don't realize there was 12,000 rug pulls in the last year. Safemoon is still going strong. Rug pull is when you take the liquidity. Whether you take $1, 1,000, or $1 million. Did Safemoon take the liquidity? It looks like they did. Is Safemoon a rug pull? It looks like it, man. If you take $1 million out of the liquidity, just because you don't pull the rug all at once and you just take pieces of the rug and cut it off does not mean that you're not pulling the rug. So if you want to, I'm just saying, don't make that argument because it doesn't hold up. It's like, oh, they didn't take everything all at once, so therefore it's not a rug pull. Like, you don't want to go down that road of logic. On or about July 15th, 2022, ECG provided Lex Technica with the UCC-1 form for ECG lab equipment prepared for John Crony in early December 2021. July 15th, Lex Technica discovered John Crony had not filed the aforementioned UCC-1 form with the state of Utah. Upon this discovery, Lex Technica filed a new UCC-1 with the state of Utah, assigning to LexVest all assets within the ECG business spaces without regard for third-party occupants. So that sounds like to me, because John didn't file it, they had an opportunity to take what he should have gotten, what kind of ownership or something he had. On or about July 15th, Lex Technica scheduled an in-person meeting with counsel for John Crony on July 20th at ECG's office to discuss potential resolution of the parties' disputes. Over the ensuing days, Lex Technica for ECG communicated with counsel for John Crony. On or about July 18th, I bet most Safemoon maxis are not going to look at this and not have any idea of like what the reality of what was happening behind the scenes was going on. And if you believe in Safemoon, I always say this, I don't care. I'm cool with you if you believe in Safemoon. I'm okay with that. I just don't like people that try to talk trash and attack people who are literally just looking at the information. Like, let us look at it's an investment. Like, it's like I have to tell people, hey guys, this is not a religion. The unbelievers are not evil and going to hell because they don't believe in John Crony, the savior. It is an investment. And with investments, you have to look at what could go wrong and what could go right. And then you invest according to that information, positive and negative. You don't let your emotions cause you to not look at negative information or to only look at positive information. You look at it all, you make your own realistic decision, and everybody's going to make their own decision, so you have to let everybody decide for themselves. Just because I cover negative information does not mean I want Safemoon to fail or I want your investments to go down. Rather, it is I am talking about the most realistic. If something bad is coming to Safemoon, if John Crony's going to jail, how much do you think the price is going to go down? And how many warning signals do I give out of what's coming? And unfortunately, Safemoon has put itself in a position where there is more negative warning signals coming for Safemoon than there is positive. So if positive things start to come out, I'd start to point towards those. And I'd rather point towards those. I get more views. I make more money. I don't get paid for this. Nobody's paying Crypto Control to make FUD videos. I just decide I want some donuts and I'm going to go cover and read this document with you guys and maybe make $2 to $3 off of a live stream. I make nothing off this stuff. And I'm not saying that for pity or for donations, but when you come out and you say that I'm being paid to do this, it's like how often does your desire to be rich lead you to the literal opposite conclusion of what reality is? How many times does that have to happen before you start to question that process of thinking that maybe not everything that it's against what you want to believe should immediately be assumed as false, and maybe you should weigh things in a more realistic way? And as soon as you start to do that, you might find yourself on the other side of the fence. And if you do, that's fine. Apologize to the people that you were a douchebag to, and we'll all get along. On or about July 20th, 2022, members of the ECG antenna research team were conducting field tests. LexVest was notified of successful field testing, further corroborating ECG's fulfillment of loan milestones. On or about July 20th, 2022, at the in-person meeting, because this is not very long ago, actually, attorneys Sam Castor and Nathan Morris and John Crony and his attorney Thomas Barton, LexVest, and Lex Technica escalated the hype of John Crony's asserted claims to incite John Crony to pursue legal action against ECG, thereby manufacturing an excuse for LexVest to exercise seizure provisions of the loan documents to the harm of ECG. That's interesting. I don't quite understand that. Escalated the hype of John Crony's asserted claims to incite John Crony to pursue legal action against ECG. They're saying that LexVest caused John to pursue legal action against them, ECG, for LexVest to exercise seizure provisions of the loan documents to the harm of ECG. I don't get how that's to the harm of ECG, I guess is the part I'm not quite understanding. During the time of these discussions, LexVest revealed it is heretofore not expressed intent to liquidate ECG assets by exercising loan provisions against ECG and taking control of ECG business operations. They're saying that LexVest had a secondary goal to take over. Everybody's trying to take over ECG. Damn, man. It's that nano antenna technology. Everybody wants it. On or about July 20th, 2022, during the course of the meeting with John Crony, principals of LexVest, Sam Castor, Nathan Morris declared a breach of the loan agreement. LexVest declared John Crony's $5 million capital investment into ECG was gone and that he had no recourse because LexVest had taken control of ECG operations, in which John Crony has no membership interest. This provocation was against ECG's best interest. On or about July 20th, 2022, based upon John Crony's threat of litigation during the July 2022 meeting, LexVest principals, also ECG House Counsel, began exercising loan provisions adverse to ECG. LexVest announced immediate seizure of all pledged collateral and assets of ECG and control of the ECG entities. What? Upon learning of the LexVest loan to ECG, John Crony demanded full disclosure of the loan documents and began threatening suit against LexVest So John didn't know that his mom was cheating on him with FlexVest as far as investing goes. Sorry to put that in those words. ECG personnel were not present at this in-person meeting between LexVest, Lex Technica, John Crony, and Thomas Barton on July 20th, 2022 at ECG's place of business. Representatives of Lex Technica and LexVest began communicating with counsel for John Crony to provide disclosure of the loan documents and to seek a resolution of parties' contentions and disputes. The registered principals, Jennifer Crony, and John's dad, registered agent Jennifer Crony of ECG, remain unchanged. No. Sorry, that's not John's dad. I think John's dad is John's dad is Bradford. And John's name is actually Braden. So it's Bradford Crony, Braden Crony. It's Braden John Crony. And he decided to go by John Crony. So Jennifer Crony, and I believe that's referring to John, and registered agent Jennifer Crony of ECG remain unchanged. On or about July 20th, 2022, and without disclosure to ECG, Lex Technica filed to change the registered principals of the following entities: ECG Operations Group LC, Emanation Energy Group LC, Jennifer Crony, no, it is Bradford Crony, to Sam Castor, Nathan Morris, and Adam Neck. Nathan Morris was changed to be listed as the registered agent for all three ECG entities. This is not just your mom, then. It's also your dad. It's your parents. This is crazy. The story of Safemoon, the hidden story of Safemoon, that not many people know. On or about July 2022, and without notice to ECG, Lex Technica of 10161. Okay, I just don't need to read the. Upon incorporation of LexVest ECG LLC, Nathan Morris was designated managing member and registered agent with LexVest Ltd as the other member. So all this is going down in Utah? Like, John could go to like Chick-fil-A and then he could like get stuck in line next to his mom. Sorry, I have weird thoughts. I'm sorry, guys. On or about July 21st, 2022, and without notice of ECG, Lex Technica filed to change the registered principals of the following entities: ECG Operations Group LC, Emanation Energy Group LC, and ECG IP Holdings LC from Sam Castor, Nathan Morris, and Adam Neck to LexVest ECG Ltd, with Nathan Morris remaining as registered agent for all three ECG entities. On or about July 21st, 2022, and unknown to ECG, John Crony's counsel requested details on behalf of John Crony as a member of ECG about alleged default by ECG of obligations to LexVest. Sam Castor, in-house counsel to ECG, postured that LexVest had not received monthly payments under a promissory note, loan milestones had not been met, and material breach had occurred and was ongoing. At this time, Sam Castor provided John Crony's counsel with a promissory note IP indemnity agreement stating that LexVest had not received monthly payments from ECG. ECG was not included in Sam Castor's response, and ECG had not been informed that it was an alleged material breach of the revised loan document signed the previous week. LexVest filed suit against ECG in this court July 31st, 2022. So they filed a suit against ECG as well. I'm like so curious the details of this stuff. Like I want to talk to like somebody who worked at ECG and is trying to come up with this nanotechnology. Like I'm so curious their inside story of what was going on. Even just their day-to-day work life and like hearing about how their boss's son is like part of a cryptocurrency and coffee's and they're like famous and stuff, and be like, wait, the guy who invested in my company might have got that money from his investors. Like, oh shoot. And that would negatively impact that company because they'll be like, they don't want to be associated with that because it might push away other investors, I think. And you have to fight that, like, no, we're not that company. Please invest in us. We have a really good product. ECG received a payment of $200,000 from the principals. ECG informed Sam Castor that not fulfilling the terms of the loan agreement would adversely affect the ongoing business of ECG and the completion of technology and product development and monetization. Sam Castor then explained to ECG that the remaining $50,000 would be forthcoming in the next few days. ECG never received the remaining $50,000 for the month of August 2022. On or about August 1st, 2022, Lex Technica informed ECG that due to the alleged breach by ECG with their client, LexVest, Lex Technica's client, Lex Technica, was to pursue LexVest's rights under the loan agreement against ECG. That's crazy, because it sounds like the part that they promised was for John was then used against them. And now John's mom was in lawsuits with both the companies, or I guess her son and this company that were investing in ECG, which is weird because, like, isn't that would mean like John's suing his own company, ECG, because he's part of a founder, is it? He's just not the majority, he's the minority. On or about August 1st, 2022, Lex Technica informed ECG that ECG failed to meet loan required milestones, notwithstanding ECG's demand for funding to fully meet ECG payroll obligations. Lex Technica promised to provide a financial team member to ensure funds for ECG operations going forward. Lex Technica did not provide a finance team member. On or about August 2nd, 2022, Lex Technica notified ECG of the filing of this case and recused itself from representing ECG in this litigation. Lex Technica advised ECG to retain separate counsel in Nevada. LexVest's alleged uncured breach of the loan agreement and failure to meet milestones identified in the loan agreement. LexVest threatened to the liquidation of all ECG property and assets, so that they would have the ability to take everything that ECG had and sell it, I believe is what that is saying. On or about August 3rd, 2022, John Crony filed suit in the Utah courts. On or about August 8th, 2022, LexVest entirely changed its positions, now claiming that the loan documents were in violation of terms of the operating agreement, including the use of single-purpose entities, by ECG, thereby filling John Crony's asserted grounds to contest ECG's use of ECG operations and in hope of justifying LexVest's seizure of ECG operations instead of ECG. And then what ended up happening is that John and this other company were both trying to gain control of ECG, of his mom's company that she was the majority in. In management of the company's business, the managers may delegate duties to such persons as the managers deem appropriate, including any affiliate or manager or any member. ECG rightly delegated the daily business activities to ECG Operations Group LC. On or about August 9th, 2022, Jennifer Crony reinforced and sought further counsel from Sam Castor on her concerns regarding the source John Crony's personal investment capital. Back in August, so like not very long ago, she was concerned about that. She must have watched a CoffeeZilla video or a crypto control video. That'd be cool if John's mom was like subscribed to my YouTube channel. The thought of that just makes me laugh. After declaring breach of the loan agreements by ECG, LexVest attempted to require other milestones whose completion in just weeks was not possible. LexVest began attempting to insert its own alleged technical expert into ECG operations to redirect ECG antenna development to thereby establish that ECG has not met required milestones. On or about August 12th, 2022, in meetings at ECG Spaces, LexVest materially interfered with ECG's ability to bring products to market. Like by messing with the materials that they had, they couldn't bring the products. LexVest unilaterally changed the scope and deployment of the antenna project by dictating a change to ECG's established testing design. During the meeting on or about August 12th, 2022, Sam Castor discouraged local ISP testing to further substantiate ECG's successful product development and compliance with loan milestones. Nathan Morris, a LexVest principal, visited ECG Spaces to review budgeting and discuss ECG spending. ECG provided the request documents and access to accounts for review. Prompts budget over plans, employees. On August 25th, 2022, LexVest principal Adam Necht started launching the antenna project. Stated, okay, that's a much different sentence. Stated that launching the antenna project in the Gambia would taint the product. What? Why? Is it because association with the Gambia? At the end of August 2022, ECG provided payroll and budgeting documents to LexVest to ensure critical funding for operations going forward. On or about September 1st, 2022, LexVest failed to provide a full amount of funding identified in the loan agreement. ECG received a payment of $99,990 from the principal instead. ECG informed Sam Castor that not fulfilling the terms of the loan agreement would adversely affect the ongoing business of ECG and the completion of technology and product development and monetization. On or about September 7th, 2022, ECG received an unannounced visit by LexVest, alleged technical expert, to evaluate the fulfillment of milestones. Antenna components provided by the alleged technical expert were acknowledged by the expert to be materially defective. Further, the alleged expert's testing did not meet IEEE standards. This same expert failed to participate in field testing conducted during his visit to validate ECG's achievement of loan milestones. By September 14th, LexVest refused to fund ECG payroll accrued. So this is very up to date, actually. During the time, ECG personnel were diverted to support LexVest's alleged technical expert while on site. Due to LexVest's instructions to continue business operations, payroll was accrued and continues to accrue. LexVest reiterated that refusal to fund outstanding payroll amounts on September 28, 2022, in contradiction to their instructions to continue business operations. Lex Technica / LexVest principals have refused to acknowledge ECG's technical achievement and fulfillment of milestones material and relevant to ECG's previous and successful antenna project. Instead, LexVest's alleged technical expert has diverted ECG resources away from ECG's telecom antenna project to other antenna projects which are impossible to complete in the few weeks demanded by LexVest. In so doing, LexVest has acted in bad faith in seeking to justify its premature and improper declaration of breach of the loan agreement and to devalue the worth of ECG and its assets as an ongoing business, thereby permitting LexVest, albeit improperly, to assert ownership and control of the ECG nanotechnology and intellectual property for LexVest gain to the detriment of ECG. Which, if I'm understanding what that claim is saying right there, it's saying that somehow they had the ability to tell them to seek the technology in a way that they weren't doing it, in such a way that they would fail, in order for them to gain control over ECG through a loan agreement that they promised was not for them but for John Caroni. Like, if I'm understanding that right, if I'm putting that all together, I might be missing a piece, but that seems like I'm understanding that. If you've been following along, then I think you might understand what I said and agree with it. At all times, ECG had appropriate levels of debt for the research and development stage of development for ECG's antenna project. ECG has made progress for the completion of the antenna months and years ahead of the schedule laid out in its patent license acquisitions, which followed for a projected timeline of 5 years for product placement in the market. So 5-year hold, guys. Not one asset owned by or traceable to ECG has been removed by ECG from ECG's office and labs. All equipment and supplies remain. The current driving assets of ECG remain in the ready for the Gambia market. The team of scientists and engineers ECG has assembled and in the proprietary nature of the technology now present in the current manufacturing process of the antenna project. These developed assets are what will take ECG forward in continuing business. So it sounds like they're saying, hey, we have the technology. We just need to get it out there. LexVest has waived its rights to possession and control of ECG property and assets. Really? Okay. LexVest instructed ECG to continue business operations. All material assets needed for the ongoing success of ECG and its antenna project remain rightfully in the possession and use of ECG. Lex Technica remains in-house for ECG. And these first claim for relief. ECG incorporates all prior allegations herein. ECG and LexVest entered into a loan agreement on June 30th, 2022. ECG fulfilled all its obligations under the loan agreement. LexVest has failed to provide the promising funding of $1 million. LexVest breach has caused ECG damage and or damages for non-performance in amount not less than about $500,000 or an amount to be determined at trial. As provided in the loan agreement, ECG is entitled to its reasonable attorney's fees for enforcement of LexVest breach. Second form of relief. ECG incorporates all prior allegations herein. LexVest was required to refrain from intentionally doing anything that would deprive ECG of the benefits of the loan agreement. ECG fulfilled all its obligations under the loan agreement. LexVest intentionally withheld a portion of the agreed upon $1 million of funding from ECG without justification and contrary to the loan agreement. LexVest's breach of its implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing has caused damage to ECG in amount no less than about $500,000 or an undetermined amount at trial. As provided in the loan agreement, ECG is entitled to its reasonable attorney fees. ECG incorporates, this is the third claim for relief, incorporates all prior allegations herein. I almost said heroin. We need heroin, guys. By and through Adam Castor, Nathan Morris, and Adam Necht, Lex Technica held itself out as an in-house counsel to ECG. It's funny because I also do YouTube for Evergrow Coin, so it's EGC. I've already seen people get those confused. Those are in no way tied to each other. Lex Technica, Lex Vest, Sam Castor, Nathan Morris, and Adam Necht made, promoted, or furthered the representations to EGC that the terms of the original first amended and second amended loan agreements had been revised as requested by ECG. Lex Technica, all those people, same people, promoted or furthered representations to ECG that the terms of the original first amended and second amended loan agreements were necessary to prevent John Crony from seizing control of ECG. So it seems like a major part of this started off as a defense against John Crony, but is ending on a defense against LexVest, which is like the secondary investing that they sought outside of John Crony because his mom felt like she couldn't trust him and where his funds were coming from and didn't want to be associated with his with who he was being seen as in the public. And they're seeking it seems like they're seeking about $500,000 or more, or what is determined at in trial. And it's basically trying to prove who was wrong within the contracts that were signed and who broke what first. So not only is John having to deal with like all the Safemoon craziness, but he's also suing his own mom over a company they founded together. John Crony acted intentionally to disrupt the ECG LexVest contractual arrangement by improperly asserting rights John Crony does not have. As a result of John Crony's threats, LexVest has withheld providing funding to ECG in full amount of $1 million. ECG has been caused damages by John Crony's conduct in an amount equal to at least the amount of funding which LexVest has withheld from ECG, which is about $500,000, or an amount to be proven by trial. ECG seeks the following relief: that LexVest be denied all relief, damages in the amount of $500,000 jointly and severally against LexVest, a declaration that ECG has substantially complied with all the material obligations of the original loan agreement, and that LexVest must fully perform by paying up to at least $1 million funding to ECG pursuant to the terms of the loan agreement. Alrighty. It's a lot to take in, but there was some pretty good information in there. Mitch, thanks for the $1, man. Hope things are going well over at the space station or whatever craziness you're working on right now. What's up, Adversary TFC? How's it going? Yeah, CC, what happened to your rug pull coin you was working on? The rug pull coin? Or, I meant... Let me guess. You're defending John taking millions out of a token, and you deny the blockchain evidence, but with zero evidence of me ever having anything to do with the rug pull, you're going to, without any evidence, call mine a rug pull coin. And you think that those two different standards of logic are actually balanced and that you yourself are able to determine what's real. That blows me away. People, like, do you realize the delusion that you live in? The conclusions that you've come to, driven by your desire to be rich, have created a perception by which you view reality through delusion and you attack the truth. I don't lie to you. I've never told anybody to like buy a project that I'm going to dump on them. And at a certain point, it's like, how reasonable is it to reason with somebody who's unreasonable? At a certain point, you become unreasonable if you try to reason with somebody who's unreasonable. You know what I mean? And it's like, how much time do I give to maxis who have no desire to have a real conversation or to question their own beliefs. They just kind of want to vomit their ideas on you that you're evil because you question Safemoon. And it's like, that's the extent of your logic. And I get there is way more motive to defend Safemoon and John because of your personal gain than there is to question it. To the point that they think that anybody who questions it is trying to attack it and destroy it. And it's just like, no, I'm a YouTube channel. I inform, educate, and entertain. And if you don't like how I do those things, you literally can just unsubscribe and not follow my channel, right? And a lot of people are choosing to do that, and I don't hate them for that. They don't want to hear what I have to say. That's okay. It's their choice to walk away. What is your take on everything in the documents? Well, Tommy, yeah, just like a brief summary is that right after Safemoon formed in March last year, within months, this company was formed. John Caroni and his mom formed this company. His mom had control over it and the majority in it, and John held 33% and she held over 50%. This is the company from which everything that was happening in the Gambia, through the connections through his mother, which we were right about that when we found out about that. John's connections to the Gambia was through his mom and his dad. Was everything that was being promised Safemoon last year that has all completely gone to hell for us. Which means like everything that we've invested into Safemoon, like 80% of it was on a lie or something that wasn't real for Safemoon. The freedom of the unbanked, the wind turbines, the every turn's a burn, all of that was based on this company that John formed with his mom that he didn't have control over, that he claimed as his own, that he's in a lawsuit with his own mom over now, and they were in a lawsuit against, they sought funding from him, and then his mom became concerned about the same time I did, probably before that, since she's actually dealing with her son in a real way, about where he was getting his funds from. To the point that, and because of the allegations and the accusations and the lawsuits, kind of didn't know or trust to receive funding from John anymore. So went and sought it elsewhere, found it through this other company who also appears to have, they have gotten to try to a point where everybody wants control over ECG. It seems like they're not trying to get away from ECG and get away from it. It's they want control over it. And ECG has this antenna nanotechnology, which I believe is the reason that John Caroni is willing to drop $5 million, is because they have some amazing technology that they believe is going to, like, that's in my mind, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, and I said this earlier, but it's worth saying again, that John Caroni thought that if he invested $5 million of his personal, finger quotes, money, that he would get a third of the profits back in the future, which meant that he thought that a third of the profits from this is going to be more than $5 million in the future, and that it's worth investing that at least $5 million into this company. This was months. This was not long after Safemoon that John's dropping a $5 million bomb on this company that he made with his mom to work on this technology. And where it gets into like, this wasn't Safemoon's company. It was being presented as Safemoon's company. His mom was being left out of the picture. He didn't say that he had this company with his mom. He never told anybody this. I wouldn't have known this if the lawsuit didn't come out. If this wasn't going to court, I don't think we ever would have heard about it. Unless you found some kind of like public documents on it. Oh, thanks, Tommy. I appreciate that. I had 100% put a bag in your project just going off how you treat wrongdoings. Thanks, Trent. I appreciate that, man. I do have some opportunities coming up. I'm going to be talking about a new project coming out, and I can't guarantee that what the project's going to do, so I'll be upfront with you guys. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if bots are going to take advantage of it, but what I can guarantee is that I will explain something about this project that hasn't been done in the DeFi space yet, and it is a type of technology that is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. The pre-sale is on November 1st, so I'll have a lot of videos and live streams out about it. I'm going to have my own link where you basically, what you buy at the pre-sale, what you get 2% of what you buy airdropped back to your bag if you use my link, and it supports me, and you get something back as well. So that's exciting. It's an exciting project that I hopefully can get in on the pre-sale in. And it's also a really exciting project to buy if it goes down. And I'll explain all that. I'm going to be covering that for the next couple of weeks. I'm also looking at doing my own NFTs. And there's going to be some really cool utility attached to those things. And it's only for people that believe in me, right? If you hate me, obviously you're not going to want an NFT that I make. But if you're somebody that believes me and trusts me, then you probably will be interested in the type of NFT that I'll be making, because it's not just an image. It's actually attached to my success. Like if I do well, the people who hold my NFTs will do well as well. That's the idea, is that if I'm successful, and if I have multiple ways of being successful in the DeFi space, from my investing to my YouTube to my connections that I make, because I make all kinds of connections through this, that I will be giving back. And the goal is to not just give back everybody who buys the NFTs, which who has ever had that goal with an NFT? My goal is to pay you back for what you spent on the NFT, but to also go beyond that, so that if I ever blow up in the space or something, then I will also be rewarding consistently those who decided to support me with this NFT line. But this is in the very early stages of all that. I'm just giving you guys a quick idea of what it is that I'm doing. And I still do have a pretty cool idea for a project that I might pursue, but I don't want to be associated with the project. So it would more so be, if I did pursue it, finding the right people to do it, and then them implementing it, because I kind of want to be like the person that creates it but doesn't have to do all the things for it, so it really be about finding somebody who has a real utility, attaching it to that project, letting them take all my ideas, and making sure it's people I can trust, obviously, because my approach to investing is a lot different than other people's. I think that the big problem that we see is that the idea with investing is very simply, people expect for some reason the price to go up. Memeability, mass adoption, and the big thing for the last year has been utility, right? But we found that utility ends up being not something that actually provides a lot of profit in the long run for a lot of projects. You have to be something that's widely used, that has massive, like Pancake Swap or something. I had family who invested in Pancake Swap, and they made a lot of money off that. And I was like, damn, why didn't you guys tell me about that? Because I wasn't into crypto back then. But finding that right utility. So the entire idea is it's something that's going to catch, but either the basis at the root of it is you expect the money to go up. So when you're creating a project, if you have an actual, to me, it's if there's utility, it has to be something that's not widely being used, or if it is, it's better, right? And it's better to the degree that people will want to use it. And why will people want to use it? Well, it could be more user-friendly, there's more users on it, or it saves them money, right? And these are all the basic concepts that everybody's trying to approach when they create launch pads and dexes and all these NFT marketplaces and all these different things, and everybody's trying to figure out what can we create that creates a profit that can then be attached to the people that invested in us, which is very, very similar to what it is that we're looking at with these lawsuits, because it's these people within these lawsuits, if John's mom created a cryptocurrency to fund this, it's not the worst idea if they were honest about it. Then you'd have your funding. Potentially, you say, hey, 10% is going to fund this business, and then 50% of the profits are going back to the investors. I don't know. I think that could be an actual possible good if she did it the right way to look for funding for her company without getting caught up with these lawsuits over what ECG is doing. But for me, I think that a realistic approach to what a chart will most likely do might be the best way to create a project. And if I created a project, it wouldn't necessarily be forever, right? Because that's very unsustainable unless you have a permanent utility that's consistently producing profits back into it, or that has a memeability to it that carries off into the future, right? Almost every project that we see, if it doesn't have a major utility to it, it will go up and it will go down over a long period of time in different ways, right? But ultimately it's going up and it's going down. So if you keep that in mind and you portray that in mind realistically, then you could say, hey, this is what's probably most likely going to happen. But the goal, instead of rewarding a very small group of people with all the money and having a ton of people get screwed over, would be creating a system that rewards more people and takes that wealth and it distributes it over a longer period of time to the ones that deserve it more. Like, that would be my approach to a project. And if I do move forward with the project, that'll be what's in mind. Now, ideally, you still shoot for that utility because you want an outside source producing profit that's fueling the ecosystem or the token in some way that's giving back to the investors or the holders. You don't want to just launch a tokenomics project, which is just a redistributing of wealth. Now, I personally, there's two sides to this. A meme token can do well, right? If it gets attention. No utility, absolutely nothing going for it, and it can do insane. So I'm not totally, to me, you have to remember that the psychology of greed can take something to that level where lots of people can do well. And I think that you have to incorporate that both sides to this into a project, is that the psychology of what would make a chart do really well and not just die and have a few people get rich. How can you do that? How can you combat the bots? And how can you make it so that it rewards the holders and punishes the sellers? And a lot of people are trying to do that. If you punish it too hard, then you lose that big money that comes in and really makes the charts go up. But that's definitely, these are the things that I'm considering right now. So within the next couple of weeks, I will be focusing in on this new project, which everybody will have the chance to be on the pre-sale if you guys want to. If you don't want to, that's fine. I don't know if it'll go up or down. I don't know what's going to happen, but I will be explaining that. And then I'm also going to be working on these NFTs for quite a while, because I have a really cool idea for NFTs that I'll be implementing. And these aren't going to be like crappy NFTs. They're going to be really cool looking NFTs that have something unique and special about them in the way that they look. But beyond that, there's also going to be a very interesting utility attached to it that's not guaranteed, but has potential just from buying an NFT to have a huge impact on your future. So most NFTs don't have that. It's like you hope other people want the value of it, or maybe you get airdrop some tokens, or maybe you get a giveaway. But beyond that, it's just you hope that people like the image enough to buy it. But the ones that I'll be making are literally riding on my own future in this space. And if I do well through my investing, or if I do well just as a YouTuber and blow up, then it'll just be my decision to give back. And it's basically for, if you trust me, and those of you guys that know me like you did in the chat, then you know that I will hold true to my word that if I do really well in this space through the investing or through whatever, that I will make sure that the people who hold those NFTs are going to be shared in that success because they supported me through these NFTs. And that's going to be the message that's explained to you when you get the NFTs, so that you understand it very clearly. I'm not trying to trick anybody into supporting me. And I'm just giving you guys a heads up on what I'm working on right now. Let me read some more comments. Hey, what's up, Mark Hamilton? Good to see you, man. Keen to see what you've got going on. I'm still an OG and do not understand the full potential NFTs, just saying. Yeah, I mean, it's cool because I think that if you forced everybody onto one blockchain, which is probably what the governments are trying to do, to force us all to use one currency, then NFTs would really matter, because then you could really have rights to something, because the government's forcing you to use it on that sense of like ownership of houses or whatnot. And then if there was, if you think about that, if there was one blockchain, then you literally could actually own an image, the rights to that image on this centralized blockchain that everybody has to use, because they could have an identification or a copyright process that can actually identify if that image that no one else can use. Right now, you can take any image and go put it on anywhere, or, whatever. So, and technically the NFT is just a pointer to that image, and that there's instances where people can literally change the image that you bought. There's like something called freeze something that's a part of a process of NFTs that actually stops people from being able to do that and makes it safe, which is pretty cool. But I like the idea of like, hey, you want to support me, you want a really cool NFT, and you want the potential of a big return back that's not guaranteed, but the potential rides on somebody that you at least believe you can trust. This NFT is for you, and it's an easy way to support me. So I'll be working on those, and it'll probably take a while to make those, to be honest. So here we go, guys. CC gets the audience, and now he is shilling his NFT. You can't make this crap up. Yeah, Julia, welcome to my channel, Crypto Control. I can talk about whatever I want. I can talk about Evergrow. I can talk about Jesus. And yeah, I'm going to talk to the people that support me about what I'm doing. It's always so funny. Like, that mindset just blows my mind. It's like, John Caroni, good. Anybody that questions John Caroni, evil. And like, that's your standard. That's the extent of your thought processes, and you can't question yourself enough to get to the source of why you think that way. You can't, because if you did, you'd see the problem. Safemoon's dead. What's up, Bloxburg with Vegas? How's it going? CC Coin dead. What's up, Adversary? If this was in the Safemoon space, you'd be blocked within 0.0025 seconds of making that comment. But that's just what I'm working on. You guys don't have to participate in that. And if you're upset that I'm saying those things, then you're kind of an idiot. Just to be honest with you, you just are. Yeah. Like, if you believe John Caroni, when John said that Thomas wasn't leaving, they said Thomas isn't effing leaving, and the exchange and blockchain was coming out last year, and all the promise of Project Phoenix, and then Thomas left, and the exchange and blockchain didn't come out last year, and Project Phoenix is dead. And if you believe John Caroni, he said that he would tell us if he touched the LP, and they're not going to touch it. And then he did that, and he didn't tell us. And then you trust John Caroni and Safemoon still, and then you go to a guy who has never made a project, who's only told you the truth about all those things, and you tell him that he's dishonest and that his projects are bad, then you're an idiot. Yeah, you're just an idiot. I'm sorry. That's where you're at. You're an idiot, and in order for you to like make your life better, you need to realize that you're stupid, and then you need to change that part. Like, it's that simple. Who cares? Safemoon Twitter. Yeah, Safemoon Twitter blocked me too. What's up, Jacob? Cade32. Yeah, they blocked me as well. I'm waiting for the lawsuit to be over, and then we will know the truth. Otherwise, we are just picking a side. Julio Sanchez. This is the thing that's like, courts do not determine what is real. Courts do not always get it right. Juries don't always get it right. You can come to the conclusion of something without having 100% evidence. We do it all the time. And that's, once again, here's a double standard. We have evidence that John made millions of dollars. We see the tether going to his wallet. We see it was between the Bitmart deal. We have all that strong evidence, and we say, well, it's not conclusive. And then I say, hey guys, I think I might make a project. And we go, rug pull. And I'm like, you have zero evidence of anything with me. But John, you have all this evidence, and it's not conclusive, but zero evidence with me, and it's 100% conclusive. And it's like, maybe you're just an idiot who can't think straight because you want to be rich so badly that your desire to be rich off of Safemoon has caused you to perceive anything in opposition to Safemoon as the opposite of what it is. But it's like, who's going to wake up to that? Everybody has different points. People are waking up to it. Everybody has different points. It just sucks to have to deal with like people like telling someone the truth in a truthful way. And I'm not saying that I don't make mistakes or whatever, but I'm not intentionally lying to you in order to gain anything from you. I'm intentionally telling you the truth, knowing that it'll hurt my channel, knowing that you're going to lie about me. You're going to attack me. Anybody in this chat who speaks the truth, you're going to sit there and have the maxis. And you guys make Safemoon look bad when you behave that way because you just look delusional. And it's hard to not like... It's hard for you to be so hateful and deceitful and lying and double standards and hypocritical. It's hard to not dish some of that back at your face and be like, and show you like how you're acting. It's hard to just be like, oh no, it's okay. you believe in Safemoon, but you can lie about me and you can do all that. It's hard to not point out what a hypocrite you guys are and your inability to ask questions. Like, that's my thing is like, seek to understand somebody before you pronounce a judgment on them. Because a lot of times your judgment is based off an assumption that about somebody is something that you don't understand. The fact that I've demonstrated this, and I'm not like, I don't care if you trust me or not. People trust me or they don't. I'm not trying to convince the people that don't to trust me, but I just want to say this. The fact that I built for myself, and I know life sucks. Last year, I was able to support myself off of my YouTube channels. I can't tell you, and I know many of you guys would feel this way too. Many of you already do because you have businesses and stuff that's more successful than my YouTube. I was able to literally make videos talking about a projects that I believed in, to make a living off of that, to do better than I actually did working at other jobs, at jobs I hated, where I'm working all the time and have no time to do anything. That was one of the best feelings I've ever felt, was to be able to be my own boss about something that I want to do, make videos, entertain people, educate people, and do it in an honest way. I was willing to damage that and throw all that away. Not only am I not willing to profit off of your loss, I'm willing to suffer off of telling you the truth. And I think that when people see that and they go, oh, he's actually willing to be attacked, to have his channel that he built off Safemoon attacked, to have his own money revenue, because I could keep pumping out these Safemoon videos. But that's the thing, is that it's gotten to the point where it's so obvious that I would look like a delusional liar if I was pumping out Safemoon math videos about how rich you're going to be right now. That'd be dishonest of me to do. That's what a lot of maxis want. But because I've chosen, and I always choose, I'm one of the people that's always one of the earliest voices whenever there's something negative happening. If I see Ryan or Thomas or John or the lawsuits or any of that stuff, I put that information out there because I know it's important to your investment decision. For you, yes, if you're down so bad that if you sell it's a loss, it may not matter. Or if you've only put in $100, it may not matter. But you know what? Not everybody has the same investment. Some people have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, and they can't treat this like a cult where you just believe until it dies. They actually have to make real decisions based on true information, and they actually have to decide if they want to buy or sell. And this information is extremely important to their decisions. There's no time to come in like kindergarten and pretend like there's, you have to be on this side or you don't have to be on this side. It's each person's individual investment decision to decide when they want to buy and sell. And the fact that, and I'm not trying to like pump myself up, it's just it's just true that I have demonstrated that I will speak to the truth to people even if it hurts me. And I've given up, in a sense, I was willing to give up for what I believe to be true, something that I've loved more than anything, and when it comes to my work life, which was the ability to support myself. I was like, I know that if I talk about this and if I cover this in a certain way, it's going to destroy this channel that I built that I was able to support myself off of. And it's going to turn all the people who invested on me on me. They're going to turn on me. But it's not that I want that. It's the last thing I want. I would love to just be making Safemoon videos. I would love for the Project Phoenix and John and his mom and this company to be producing this crazy nanotechnology that Safemoon's going to be. That's the ideal scenario for us as investors and for me as a YouTuber. Unfortunately, things did not go that way, and it was not my decision, and it was out of my hands. All I'm doing is telling you about that. That's it. This channel was built on Safemoon. Safemoon had good YouTube views compared to other topics. I got lucky getting into the right one. When things are going positive, everybody's awesome. Everybody believes in you. Everybody's cool with you. But if you become an unbeliever, they consider you an outcast. You're a black sheep. You're not one of us. And you're worthy of condemnation and of being judged as evil if you don't believe in Safemoon. It literally gets down to that. Like, that's how people think, and they can't snap out of it. And slowly over time, and after a painful process for a lot of people, a lot of major believers like Safemoon Joe and all the YouTubers and everybody, it's a painful process of finally seeing the information and going, damn, this looks really bad. And that's where I stop and I say, guys, I'm not necessarily saying that this guarantees that it's going to zero. I don't know where Safemoon's going. I personally think that without knowing the law and what the SEC is doing with cryptocurrency, some people get caught, some people don't. I don't know. And a lot of things are being implemented right now. It's hard to tell where it's going with consequences within the crypto space, especially when you try to be centralized like John has. You're setting yourself up that if you had done something really bad and you're not able to pay off anybody to get out of it, that you're going to go to jail. And I think that if John went to jail, we'd probably see the biggest sell-off in Safemoon we've ever seen. We'd see the lowest prices of Safemoon we'd ever seen. And that right now, if as an investor, you have to decide that. And for some people, it's an easy decision. You're too far down or you haven't put that much in, right? Other people, they've got enough that they've put in. And as much as it might suck to pull it out, if the price is going to keep going down, it's better to pull it out now and put it in down later if you still believe in it later. But to only present one opportunity, which is buy and hold, like that's the most dishonest, selfish way to present a cryptocurrency to somebody. In the light of everything that's come out, like I tell my family, hey guys, hold on to Evergrow because, they don't have insane amounts to worry about. And I think that it has the potential to be profitable one day. But like I said, trying to reason with somebody who's chosen to be unreasonable is unreasonable itself. You can wake people up, right? It's just usually not how it happens. Usually they need some kind of deep blow to the gut. John just got put in jail. Oh, bam, right in the stomach for a bunch of maxis. What? John's in jail? That can't be this. It's got to be the government's fault. They just couldn't see Safemoon's vision. That they'll be dealing with that and they'll say, wait, well, maybe it is true. And that's all it takes. That's all it takes is that one thing in your mind to just question the one thing that you haven't questioned the entire time, which is that maybe John isn't God or Jesus, and that maybe he hasn't dealt with us, the investors, properly in his involvement regarding the liquidity pool. Because as far as all the drama goes with Safemoon, like, yes, that's important to your decision making for your investment, but like making bad decisions is not anything compared to like taking our money and not telling us about it, right? Start a channel called Safemoon CC, and the disclaimer will be, this is a fairy tale. Then say everything positive about Safemoon with only good things. You could retire. I tried, if you go back, I tried to put out a positive video, and the maxis were upset. They were like, that's positive? That like they just mock you. They're so hateful. Not all of them, but some of them are so freaking hateful and disgusting. Their behavior is appalling. I went into a Safemoon Hennessy space, the barbershop Twitter space, and he still got this safe somewhere. You can go find it. And man, they were just, if you go listen to this, it was me versus everybody. It was like a maxi coming up into a fudder space, which I don't even consider myself a fudder. When I talk to you about this information, it's not going to be personal unless you make it personal. It's just going to be factual and logical and say, well, it's possible, but that seems very unlikely. It might be my conclusion, but I'll still let you come to your own conclusion, and I won't hate you or judge you or think you're an evil idiot because of it, like many people do in the opposing sides. But when I went up in that space, man, it was like a bunch of people, and it was like they weren't trying to be logical. They were just trying to attack you and make you look bad, and then they all would laugh to it and support it because that's what it is. It is a cult. They reinforce the same mindset inside of everybody else. They're reinforcing the mindset. Safemoon's going to a moon. Anybody who questions is a fudder and must be doing it for negative reasons. And honestly, their delusion made me go, you know what? I said, you know what? You guys want me to go away. You want me to shut up. Because you guys were so hateful to me, because you guys were so delusional at the same time, like you're attacking me and you're wrong. And not only am I not attacking you, but I'm telling you the truth. And I had a girl come up, I think it was Holly, or some Safemoon girl come up, and she said, well, I just don't like the way you're talking, like condescending towards other people. And I said, okay. I was like, that's fair, because this is how I act, right? That's fair. I said, do you think anybody in this space has been condescending towards me? And she goes, well, I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. And I'm like, yeah, because you know that everybody's been dishing it out to me. And when I dish it back, then it becomes a fault in me that you didn't see in anybody else. And it's like, this is crazy. This is an investment. It's like, why are we acting like kids? We have to be more logical than this. And if you don't want to, that's fine. But like, you also have to consider your character. This is something I said in one of my spaces recently, that if you do have this moment of waking up, not only if you're an asshole to people who are telling you about these things and you're lying about them and you're being hateful to them, not only might you wake up one day that you were wrong about the information regarding Safemoon and John, but you're also going to wake up to the reality of what your character was during that time and how you treated people based on your own delusions. Do you realize the depth of waking up to that, of realizing that not only were you wrong, you weren't perceiving correctly, but you were also attacking people, lying about people. You were the evil one. You thought I was the evil one and Coffee was the evil one for telling you these things, but you were the evil one because you rejected truth. You changed the standards of what is acceptable. You changed your standards of judgment for John and for other people. And as soon as you start changing standards, that's when you start creating false beliefs and conclusions that lead to perceptions that are not true. So for me, it's crazy. And I'm sorry because I know there's a lot of different people in the audience. There's people that just are cool with Safemoon or they believe in Safemoon, but they don't attack people and like, hey, I'm cool with you. It might go up. I don't know what might not happen in the future, and corruption wins in this world all the time. Corruption does not mean failure. In fact, I think Bill Gates is one of the most corrupt people in the world, but he's also one of the most successful. I think many of the people at the top are some of the most corrupt people in the world. I'm not saying that you should invest based on how much corruption there is. I'm just saying that corruption does not guarantee that something will go down. It's a possibility, right? If John goes to jail, unless somebody else takes over and really reignites a faithful roadmap in Safemoon or starts delivering on something that's actually used in Safemoon, then Safemoon is going to continually go down based on the corruption that has happened within Safemoon because that corruption has happened with Safemoon. Look, it's crypto control. Get a rope. Why don't you talk about how crap Luna Sky is? It's probably not great, but they're working on the V2. There's room for failure. Nothing wrong with failing as long as you keep striving to get better. Never risk more than you can afford to lose. That's true, Mitch. People struggle to think for themselves, unfortunately. They'd rather be tribalistic and listen to everyone else and let the others think for them. Society is the same way. Individuality is going away. Well, yeah, I mean, that's where I'm like, you just need to teach people to question themselves. Take that leap of faith into the opposite of what it is that you believe. And then weigh what the opposite of what you believe is and what you believe against what it actually seems logical, against all the evidence that you can suggest. For me, I think that the number one spot for people's delusion, myself included, is not being accountable. The last person we'll blame is ourselves, and the last thing that we'll think that could be true is the last place we're willing to look. Like somebody thinks that everybody else is the problem. The last place that they're willing to look to think that maybe the source of their problems is themselves. And because that's the last place, if anybody points that place to them, if you point out the truth to somebody who's already rejected the truth and put it in the last part of their minds that they're willing to look at as the reason for the problem that's occurring, then they're going to see you as the problem. And this is exactly what's happening with Safemoon. Now, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, talk about how Sky kicks people out of spaces. That's why I've been saying CC is one-sided. I'll admit that I have bias. Like, you can only operate from a certain thing, but I'm also willing to be wrong, and I'm also willing to speculate on things. I'm willing to speculate positively if it fits. It's just like, look, if we lay out John Crony and what's happened, if you were to lay out the two stories, one sounds absolutely ridiculous. It sounds so stupid that John Caroni cleaned house. He got rid of all the bad people. All the people before him stole out of the liquidity pool. Ben Phillips, Kyle paid Thomas with tokens out of the liquidity pool, but John Caroni didn't. John cleaned house, got rid of them. John hired Ryan. Ryan delivered on the wallet. Then they had some issues. Then Ryan's the problem. John got rid of Ryan. Then John also made $19 million, started a company with his mom, and his mom's the problem. And he made that $19 million in a legitimate way, but he's also not going to tell us how he made it. And it's not from the liquidity pool, because he told us if he took it from the liquidity pool that he would let us know. Logically, it's like, no, John took money in a way that he shouldn't have, and this is where he got his funding, and that's why he's not talking about it. Like, if you weigh these two options, it's not that maybe they're equally possible. It's that it leans heavily towards, no, the most likely scenario, the reason why John wouldn't talk about this and the reason he's so scared, because he said he was scared and having to deal with some real recent problems, is because he took from the liquidity. in a way that he shouldn't have. Whether that was through the Bitmart deal or through market making or through selling liquidity, I'm not sure. Maybe it was through all of them. I don't know 100%, but I know that because he's scared, it indicates that he did something wrong. I don't get scared about things that I don't do wrong. I get a conscience whenever I do something wrong and I'm afraid of being caught. And John clearly indicated that there was fear over the FUD and that it was hard to deal with, but because he had a good team and the army around him, he was able to deal with it. He literally said all this in his last podcast 32. If you don't believe me, go watch it. So because there's fear, that indicates that there's a conscious that he did something wrong. Because he doesn't address what happened, that indicates that there's no good answer, because you could just say, hey guys, I can't say the specifics because of NDAs, but I want you to know the accusations that I took from you guys are not true. He's not even saying that. He's not even saying that. He's not even saying, I can't tell you, but I just want you to know that it's not what you think it is. Not even going to say that. Which to me, once again, heavily, logically leans to the fact, or not the fact, but to the idea that John took something he shouldn't have taken and doesn't have a good answer for it. That's why he's not giving an answer for it. He's ignoring it, hoping it goes away, and trying to move on. How do you account for 19? Like, people get so upset that I make a couple bucks on hours worth of video. My own effort, my own content, me creating a channel, making thumbnails, putting in the metadata, editing it, putting in audio, putting in an intro, putting in an outro, cutting out the boring parts. All that effort for the viewer is not worthy of making a couple bucks because it's about the topic they don't like. In their minds, I'm stealing. But John literally taking liquidity and using it on market makers or using it to sell to, exchanges or as a way to possibly siphon the LP, that is perfectly fine. He deserves the money. He needed the money. He said he would tell us, but he can't. It's NDAs. You don't understand. It's just crazy. It's just delusion world. And it's getting to the point where I'm getting tired of addressing that delusion and pretending like it has any weight to it. It's like the same thing about people that say that men can believe that they're a woman and it makes them a woman. It's like even engaging and acknowledging that argument acts like it's worthy of having any value in reality, and it's not. We all know what reality is, and that's not it. And that's how I'm starting to feel about this, is like, we can all tell what reality is, and I need to stop giving credit to people who are not actually seeking a conversation or to understand. But it's like you're not even, like he said, you're not even an individual. You're just stuck in a pattern of thinking that a cult has reinforced within your mind. HODL, we're going to the moon, it's a 5-year hold, companies lose people, Rome wasn't built in a day. Does all these ideas sound familiar? You ever think that maybe the ideas that implanted in your head that you hold to be true, that's driving your emotions and your thought processes, weren't put there by you? And that maybe you should break out a little bit? That's, to me, that's such a big thing that when I have kids, I want to teach them the ability to take your ego and emotions off the table and just lay out ideas. People, it's so hard for us to discuss ideas without our desired outcomes being attached to them, so that we can actually say, well, based on all the possibilities, this is what the actual potentials are. Because as soon as you add your emotions of what you want it to be and don't want it to be into the picture, you stop yourself from speculating in certain ways. We won't speculate that John might have done things wrong or might have taken. We won't speculate on that. We won't speculate on what that looks like. We won't speculate on whether or not the current behavior fits that or doesn't fit that. We only speculate on what it is that fits what we want to believe. And it's like, once you realize that your desires become the source of your delusions, then you can start to wake up. But the first thing you'd have to really realize is that maybe you have delusions in the first place. But if you think that you have no delusions within your own perceptions, you're never going to wake up to it, right? You have to first realize that maybe you're not perceiving things rightly in order to be open to questioning your beliefs, in order to be able to see if those beliefs that you hold line up with everything that's observable or contradict everything that's observable, so that you can start to come to more realistic understandings and right conclusions and change the perceptions of your mind that cause you to misperceive reality, that are the source of why you're attacking other people, because you see them as evil because they question your investment, to the point that you're willing to say that they're evil, so evil that they're willing to rug pull and scam and lie and do it for views and steal investors. You're willing to lie, go to great extent to hurt somebody. That just blows my mind. That just blows my mind when you think about it, that people are willing to do that, willing to say that I and others are being paid to FUD. There's zero evidence for that because I've never been paid 1 cent by anybody or been offered to be paid to FUD Safemoon. So everyone who says that, they're lying. And like at that point, what's the difference between you and somebody who is rug pulling? Somebody who rug pulls, they are lying in order to take advantage of you, in order to gain something out of a selfish reason, right? So people are willing to do that about myself and other people who talk about these, you don't even have to say anything bad about Safemoon. All you have to do is talk about certain things. They don't want you talking about the gay wallet. You're not allowed to talk about the tether. You're not allowed to talk about the lawsuits. It's all old FUD. And if you talk about that, you're hurting their investment. Their desire to be rich will, out of self-interest, will cause them to want to destroy anything that stands in the way. And it's like, what's the difference between that and a rug puller? What's the difference between that and a scammer? I don't think there is at the heart of it. For the next year or two, I'm holding physical gold, silver, and cash in hand with a bit of Bitcoin plus crypto plus some different commodities. Depression is upon us. God save us all. Yeah, everyone's expecting things to get really bad. You skipped me because of the troll. Where do we get the November 1st token name and link from you? Nick Duncan, I'm working on the videos right now. I'm going to be putting out multiple videos and live streams of this token and covering it. So that'll be coming out soon. I'm actually going to end this stream now and go finish that video, or not finish it because it takes a long time to make these videos, but I'm going to go work on it right now. Society teaches us that personal responsibility, accountability isn't relevant. It's really sad to see. Everyone has to be pinned against each other to distract us from the other problems, greed, corruption. Yeah, and it's like, it's not just your effect on society. It's like you are I'm literally a happier human being since I took accountability and responsibility for my own emotions, my own actions, my own life. Yes, there's corruption in the world. Yes, it sucks. Yes, there's unfair things in life. But at the end of the day, when you take ownership and accountability and you stop blaming over things, you're literally going to be a happier, more successful person. And if you encourage those ideas within other people, they're also going to be happier. But if you encourage them to think that their problems are unsolvable, that they're just a product of an environment that can't be changed, and that the whole system's against them, there's nothing they can do, you've created all these walls in their mind that are going to stop them from even trying to succeed or better themselves. And you're right, because corruption rules our system, they want you to believe those things. They don't want you to, break out of the system. They don't want you to believe in themselves. They don't want you to own land. They don't want you to believe in your rights. They want you to be complacent and give them as much power and control as they can have, because they won't be fully satisfied until they have it all. And even if they had it all, I don't think they'd be satisfied then. But they're feeding this endless monster within themselves to the point that they're willing to poison our food and ruin our economies and hurt people's lives so that they can gain more money and more power and more control. That's the world we live in. We're not too far off from religion at that point. Good and evil. Believe in Jesus Christ. I'll keep it short. You don't believe in Jesus, you're going to have to answer for your own life, and you're going to be offering up God your own goodness. You do believe in Jesus, you don't have to offer up your own goodness. You offer up the goodness of Christ, and God accepts it, and you're saved. And the person who believes in Jesus is going to have a life that looks like a believer in Jesus, and the person that doesn't is going to have a life that is opposition to Jesus. Those are the deepest truths. These truths about Safemoon are not that deep, right? We're getting into the heart of human greed and the desires of, and I think that wealth and money is tied to everything that we're seeking in life. That's a huge part of it, right? But deeper truth is what is life, what is good, what is evil, what is accountability, what is justice, what is mercy, and finding that your only hope of mercy is if God provides it, and that God provided it on the cross. If the truth can lead you to that, that's the point of life. Because if you miss that, it doesn't matter if Safemoon goes to $1, you're going to die and you're going to go to hell forever because you rejected Jesus Christ as your Savior. I kept it really short this time, so don't get mad at me, guys. All right, guys, I'm going to go work on that video. I'll let you guys know. I'll at least tell you. Actually, no, I'm just going to go work on this video, and those videos will start coming out next week about this new token that I'll be covering and about the pre-sale. You guys will be able to get on the pre-sale, and hopefully this project does well for us like Evergrow did. I don't know what to expect from it, but I know that the idea will be really cool once you understand what it is that's happening. It is a really cool idea. I just don't know how well it's going to play out, and I don't want to overhype it. I don't want to underhype it. But it was great hanging out with you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video and the live stream going over all that information. I'll just do an update video at some point, going over the bare details of what it was between John, his mom, and this other LLC, so that people who didn't pay attention maybe get that story. Yeah, you guys have a good one. I'll see you guys later. It was nice hanging out with you guys.